Okay. Hello, everyone. We are live now. So, dear viewers at home, viewers wherever you're watching us from YouTube, from Facebook, from Zoom, I'm so excited to be here today for our Voice of the Teachers Conference 2025. I welcome everybody today. Our theme, which is AI-powered learning, it's a theme that we have more than 10 speakers who will be doing justice to this, starting now as I finish. I will love to introduce our first speaker for the day, who goes by the name Sophia Utulu. Sophia is a renowned teacher in Nigeria. However, she has left us for Canada. Right now, she's a teacher based in Canada. I'll tell you that you don't need to miss to listen to her when she speaks. Not only that, she is actually, she's a teacher that is so experienced in what she's doing, even though she's a Gen Z teacher. So I'm telling you that you're going to be hearing from a Gen Z teacher, not like, most of us that are old in the system. However, you can imagine what I'm trying to say when I say that a Gen Z teacher is going to do justice to what we have called the AI powered learning as our theme. So without wasting much time, I'm leaving the floor for Sophia to give us what she has. I bet you that you will gain from this. Thank you, as I call Sophia in.
Thank you, Vivian, for that great introduction. My name is Sophia Otulu. I've been teaching for over 15 years currently. I'm very passionate about learning, impacting knowledge, and hence why I'm in this field. So it's not just something that I wanted to only do in Nigeria, but it's something that I'm also interested in doing right here where I'm based. However, to cut the long story short, let's quickly dive into the topic for today. So I will be sharing my screen with you. Just please give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Okay. All right, so can you see my screen? Can I get a thumbs up? I'm waiting for a thumbs up from any of you. If I don't get a thumbs up, that means you still cannot see my screen.
We can see it.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So, basically, I want to ask a question. We're in an age where basically things are not manually done, but you sit on your system and have things done for you. And that's the introduction of artificial intelligence, as we commonly say, as we commonly call it as AI. Now, as teachers, do you think AI is going to replace us or empower us? Artificial intelligence is transforming the
I was going
educational
to answer your
system.
question.
Oh, okay. It's a rhetoric question, but yes, please answer my question.
Yeah, I think AI is going to replace some teachers. However, it's also going to empower some because teachers that are not able to acquire the skills needed for this AI era will actually be replaced by AI. However, teachers that will, provide themselves for, AI compliance and acquiring of the skills, yes, such teachers will be able to use AI, effectively rather than AI replacing them.
Yes. So in essence, if you don't keep up with the trend, you risk failure. But if you're able to evolve with the trend, then you risk, then progress or success will be the order of the day. And this also throws me back to the year 2020 during the COVID era. So many schools who were not quick to adapt to that change fell off. Most schools closed. I remember the school I taught during that period. We had a lot of increase in children because most of the schools these children attended shut down, and they heard about this school that had this program running online, and not just using Zoom but using Google Classroom as a platform, and these parents needed their children to be engaged. So what did they do? They enrolled their children in our schools. And most of these schools that shut down were schools that, for personal reasons, had thought of, had submitted my CVs to those schools wanting to teach them. So, I mean, it's just unfortunate that some schools had to shut down because they could not keep up. They could not equip their teachers with, or arm their teachers with the necessary equipment to basically foretell their progress. So artificial intelligence is basically transforming education worldwide. It helps with personalized learning, and that's why you have so many apps now that you use. I mean, in 2020, when all of these changes, started, we had Google Classroom, we had Mimeo, we had the Zoom, we had Microsoft Teams. Now we have a whole lot that so many schools have. Even schools themselves are developing apps for their children. It's no longer using what is obtainable outside, but you have schools that are specially designing their own apps to use and engage their children. So also it's introduction of AI also raises ethical dilemmas, practical challenges, and there are also future considerations to be met. And that's why I started with that question. Do you think AI is going to replace us as teachers or empower us? Next, we are going to look at the promise of AI in education. Now every child has its own unique style of learning. No two child are on the same pace. And how well you're able to communicate with that one child to see his progress really matters to you as a teacher and as a school as a whole. So what are those tools that child would need? AI helps. When it comes to efficiency, one thing I hated as a teacher and still to date hate as a teacher is grading. And maybe because I'm not a mathematical teacher, but I taught topics like subjects like creative writing, grammar. I was in the literacy and humanities department. So you know that when you grade, you're leaving a comment. And according to the British curriculum, you're not leaving that comment very good. You're writing like a whole statement, but like if the child has 10 over 10, I know then my bank, I used to write, he has grasped the ability or the concept of, I could say that he has successfully mastered the skill taught in class, blah, 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 or is yet to grasp the concept. More practice is needed in his presentation, or more practice is needed in his use of descriptive words. Those are things, and you find yourself, before you know, you're using almost an hour to mark 10 books. And the last school I taught in Nigeria was teaching up to 900 students. Yes, I taught a secondary school. So I was teaching every week. I was marking 900 books. So you could imagine the pain. And I was teaching topics like global perspective. I was teaching religious studies, education, and I was teaching business studies. Those are things, especially with the global perspective as a subject. I never liked marking it. But grading. So imagine what AI can do as a teacher for me. You have those banks already prepared, planned, and based on where their write-up is, you can be able to grade them A, B, C, D. You have those comments immediately. You put in the children's work, you submit it through the app, and it's able to print out their comments with their grades. After you have graded them, it's able to print out your comments. So where I was always spending almost an hour marking 10 books, I'm doing that and being efficient rather than spending an hour. I'm spending more or less, maybe like 10 minutes marking those books with their grades written. So it helps with efficiency. Now, what about the inclusion, translation, accessibility tools? All of those things you need to what? Inform yourself in it. And all of this will be trainings. You need to be able to learn. You need to put yourself down to learn how to use all of these tools. It's not just the school buying these tools and the teacher is not making use of it. That's why in one of the schools I've taught in, I really liked the idea of the head teacher. When she brings in someone to train, she just brings in the person to train us for 1-2 days, and then we start to train ourselves. That's thereby becoming the teachers too, because you are the one teaching the subject. It doesn't make sense for someone to come into the school and teach the children. Rather, you teach the teachers on how to teach the children. So it's important that we are also able to engage in these tools, and it helps for real-time data. So as you're teaching, you're seeing the result in real time. It's happening. There are sophisticated AI tools now that basically translate a teacher's lecture. So as a student, you go into class, you put on this thing, you put on your app, and it's able to summarize a teacher's lecture and gives you the high point. So you're seeing things done in real time too. It's giving you that result in real time. Now, what are the ethical considerations? I know recently, with if you're reading the news with all that is going with OpenAI, Sam Altman, and a lot of ethics discussion has come into play. We are talking about AI, but AI, where is AI getting its results from? It's getting its results from people's work that has been uploaded on the internet. It's not thinking for itself. It's what people has done that. So where it leads us to ethical considerations, that we need to make sure that we are not biased, but we are fair. So we run the risk of always reinforcing stereotype, because you put in your chat GPT, you ask the questions, bringing it home. Why are Igbos seen as rude set of people? And AI immediately gives you, based on one article, based on 1 or 2 articles that somebody had written about the Igbos, they paste it for you and you think it's the truth, but you've not done your extensive research. So we run the risk of also over-reliance on AI as the truth master should also be considered too. Also, data privacy. We're protecting children's information. We have this, when I taught Global Perspective, we had this marking app. It's called, something true. I also used it in school. I've forgotten the name, but the moment you submit a document, it sees if it's plagiarized. So I've forgotten the name. I don't know why. It just came to me. But you submit a child's document, it's able to assess to see if the child plagiarized that report or not. But the funniest thing, the next time the child goes to edit that document and resubmits it again, it picks it up that it's been plagiarized. So you see, because it has been submitted to the bank, and that's why we always tell them, and we use that for IGCSE, especially with Global Perspective. We always tell the children, before you submit it to the app, make sure that you are done editing finally, so that you don't submit it to the app and resubmission, it tends to flag out some things. And if you don't get up to 90%, you can't submit that report to IGCSE. In fact, if you submit it, what they do is that they flag down that school. And the school I taught in the last time, a child who didn't submit, the teacher had been on that child for a while, and the child did not submit to the last day. The child plagiarized, and the teacher didn't go through it. The school was flagged down because of that child. So how well do we protect this student information that we know it is theirs and theirs alone, and it's not used generally? Also, transparency too. You're able to explain your AI decisions. Why is AI used in these certain means, like especially with submission of reports? Why do you then need to use this AI? to avoid plagiarism, at least for the children, we want them to think. We don't want them to use people's work because it's copyright too. You are stealing people's work. So you have to explain why when you tell the children, this is, you'll be submitting through this means. Why? We want to cut down on plagiarism. We want people to think for yourself and not steal people's work, because then you'll be running the risk of infringement of one's copyright. So also, then it has that teacher-student relationship. Now, like I had mentioned this already, you don't want to be so reliant on ChatGPT. A study recently came out in United States whereby English teachers talked about how children no longer know how to write even simple emails. Hello? Okay. So, Vivian, I think you will need to mute your mic because your noise is filtering in. Thank you. All right, so we need to also make sure that we are not so over-reliant on AI when it comes to, for me, grading the children's work too. I have to make sure that I'm also able to read in between the lines. As a teacher who taught creative writing, I will know when a mother or a parent or a guardian has written an essay for the child, because I'm working with that child one-on-one. I know the child's writing pattern, the child's writing style. So if for an assignment that was given, I'm seeing a different writing pattern or thought, I know how the child thinks in certain situation. So when I'm seeing something different, I'll be like, nah, this was written by a guardian or a parent or someone else. This was not written by a child, because I like to follow my children. I help build their writing styles, their writing pattern. Over time, I'm able to see how they are adaptive to those words, those descriptive words, connectives, and all of that makes their write-up sweet. Like I always said, I was teaching primary school, so we use those sweet, nice, loving, we use those words. All right, so what are the challenges now in implementation of AI? We have, digital divide, unequal access across school. You and I know that, I taught for 15 years, I practiced teaching in Nigeria. It was in a private schools. I taught in private schools, but I was opportune to make use of all of these tools, at my fingertip. It's not the same for public schools. Even though they tell you, oh, they're opening an ICT department, go back after 2 months. It's under lock and key. The children are not learning with these tools. So it's one of the challenges too in inculcating AI in education. The risk of it widens that gap between a well-funded school and an underfunded school. Even in these countries where we are, we always like to see, as parents, you want to ask yourself, oh, what schools are you going to put your child in? And also that leads you, because for us, where you live, where you stay, the community you live in determines the type of school or the type of children your own child go to school with. So the onus is on you to make sure that the community you live in is a community ideal for the type of child you want to raise. So you want to live in a community that the school is well funded and not underfunded. But most times, based on one's pockets, you might not be able to have that. So this is one of the challenges we face in schools too. Now, teachers training. Schools now don't train teachers because their thinking, I think, is an HR problem. We will not delve into it. If we train these teachers, next year they leave us. And I guess I understand their reasoning in that point, because you want to see investment on returns. You don't want to invest and there's no returns on it. From the economical part of view, it doesn't make sense, right? And in this country where I live, they want you to come like that. So you go and do your licensing, you go and train yourself, and then we bring you in. Now you see, but as a school, if you want progress, you will have to make sure that the caliber of teachers you have is able to meet the needs of your parents or the child. So you consistently have to train. You can't take away training it's important that you train your teachers, and then you leave them to God if they leave you. That's all I would say. Now, also when it comes to cost and infrastructure, the investment and maintenance, you're looking at how well are you willing to invest. Most of these tools are not, they're not cheap, they're expensive. I was talking about that. I've really forgotten about that grading tool. For then in my school, we used to pay, then as at 2022, we used to pay 2 million naira for 6 months to use that platform. Say, it's not something that a school, and that was just for global perspective. What about for other subjects that you need these apps for? In geography, to brought their own apps, so how you can read maps and all, in real time using I think they called it, there's a point you go to Google and it's able to give you live view. So they brought their app to use for geography. How many students take geography as a course? So those are things that the schools will be like, at the end of it, how much am I spending on all of this training or tools, and how much are we charging as school fees again? So, those are one of the challenges that basically we face in implementation of AI in school. Also, I talked about it, the risk of replacing critical thinking. Nobody thinks again. And I'm guilty of that at work now. I used to know how to I know the right mood to create in my write-ups when I'm sending mails. But now I just ask ChatGPT, respond to this mail. I do not want to sound defensive. Let it look, I'm willing to learn, but I do not want to sound this. ChatGPT just creates my mail, just post it to my manager. I'm no more thinking for myself again. And I'm very good in writing, but now I don't write. I'm like, ChatGPT to the rescue, right? But truthfully, I started using ChatGPT 1 year ago. I was never a fan of ChatGPT because as a teacher, I could easily dictate ChatGPT work. And I would even teach my children how to use ChatGPT, but not be over reliant on them. I used to tell them what they could do to edit and everything. And they would use QuiltBox. There's another app they call QuiltBox that helps to edit all of that. And I said, okay, if you're using QuiltBox, it even helps because you're going in to read it word for word and you are editing. But some people are so lazy with QuiltBox that when they go in, they just do the whole paragraph at once, forgetting that it's still AI written. So I teach them how to use AI to make it sound human, but they're still putting in the work. So you have to be very careful as a teacher. The truth is that I cannot tell my children not to use AI. I'll be deceiving myself. I cannot expect them not to use AI in their reports. I'll be in la la land because it's here and it's here to stay. But how you have to teach them on how to use AI and also use their own input too, so that critical thinking is not dead in the lives of these children. They're still able to think for themselves too. Even mental, I remember that was one of those are early money drills we do for the children, mental maths and critical thinking, where you just immediately ask them questions at a go, something not directed to the topics that will be taught within the week. But now, do these children think you ask them questions up to 3 times and they're giving you wrong answers? That's one of the challenges we have in with AI. Now, what is the role of a teacher in this AI era? So, from all of everything I've said, I would say answering our question, the question that posed early on, the future of education is not AI replacing teachers, but AI working alongside with teachers. And that's why I said, as a teacher, you cannot tell your children, especially those of you in the English department, you can't tell your children not to use AI to write reports. They will use it. But you have to teach them how to work alongside with those apps so that it's not just sounding computer generated, but it's sounding it's sounding, human written, fine-tuned. As I say it. And that's why sometimes when I use ChatGPT, I used to say, write this in a human tone. That's one of my lines with ChatGPT. When it gives me like an essay, I'll say, now write it in a human tone. And it starts to use a lot of contraction, add, have, I will go back to re-edit it because you don't use contraction when you're sending a formal report, right? So you see, those are the work you then have to put into, So, but what are our roles? How does it involve with AI? You have that, we're now moving from, you're bringing knowledge to the children, to a mentor, a facilitator. I'm not more teaching them. I'm not the bearer. They say a teacher must be a mastery of his own subject. You must own the subject. You must own the topic. You must not, now, they have these things at their fingertips now. But what you're doing is to facilitate, to mentor them. And that's why I've started doing that. I teach my children how to use AI to their benefit, and not making it look like, they're everything AI is doing for them. No, use this AI. I'm not going to stop you from using AI. Use it, but how can you make sure that, remember the ethical consideration, you're not stealing someone else's work and presenting it as your own, but rather you are creating your own work with the use of AI. So it's very important that we guide these students on digital literacy, ethics, and using AI responsible. Also, we should be able to, empower these students to be creators too. They are creating now. They have this now. No man is an island on his own, and you as a teacher, you don't know everything. If you like, be a doctorate, have your doctorate, you still don't know it all in that subject. So you have to teach them to create. You're no more there to give them, oh, I know it and I'm telling you, no. Teach them to go and research. Now they have these fingertips. I do not know why they should not research. In fact, and that was one of the good things with that subject I taught, it was a research work. You have this at your fingertips. We even give them sites that they can use to help them research. I give them AI tools that would help them fine-tune their writing. I give them. So I'm not saying, oh, don't use. No, unless you will get the work done. And they will not get the work done. You start pursuing them, running after them. Give them the tools, but you guide them. You have to empower them to be creators and not just consumers. Let it not be that just every time TikTok challenge and all of that. I don't even have that app on my phone. I don't have those apps that, because the algorithm is not favorable for us here, right? So I don't do those things that it's not favorable. But let them not just be every time they're doing a new dance challenge or whatever, what the hell, let it be that they're also creators too. And there's money in creating. At least now, for every video, 1,000 views or 1,000,000 views you get, you're being paid too. So teach them to be creators of their own field or of their own interest too, and so, AI might provide the answers, but teachers will always teach those students how to ask the right questions. So you're not just giving them those tools, but you're telling them, oh, do it in this way. You're guiding them, you're leading them to their success path. That's how I see it. So what are our future prospects? More personalized and student-centered classroom. I remember then in the, we always say, as a 21st century teacher, teaching should be student-centered. Those were rhymes or phrases we will always say in our trainings and all of that. Now that those words are coming to life. Teaching now should be student-centered. What you teach Matthew is not what you're teaching Mark. You're learning at their pace, and they're learning based on their interests too. So with AI, you can have 3 children in your class, say they're in grade 9. 3 children learning different things. And that's the beauty of the British curriculum. You have, during your goals, category A, that's the high flyers, like we always say, high flyers, middle flyers, low flyers. I don't know the terminologies you guys use in your class. So you have those grades of children. these children, this set of children, part A or grade A, this is what you have to learn and at the end of the lesson, this is what you have to do. You have that in your lesson plan, in your evaluation, grade B, this. So learning then becomes personalized and centered. Even over time, the assignment I give children, I don't give one general assignment to the whole class. I've been able to grade my children and I know their capability and I'm pushing them to be a better version of themselves. I'm not limiting them. But in all of this, I also have to be very realistic and I'm a very pragmatic person. I will not tell grade A to turn in 3-page report and tell grade B to turn in a 3-page report on the same topic. No, for them, I might reduce it to maybe 2 pages, then the last one might be a page. So learning now is more personalized. Also, ethical framework. I know there's another teacher that will talk more on ethics of AI, but it's important that we create an ethical framework for the use of this AI. We need to make sure that the children are respecting other people's intellectual property. And also with AI too, is safe to use. And I guess that's where we as teachers and parents too should be very well involved in the learning of our children, making sure that, they don't come across apps that would derail them. We read the news, we know what most of these apps have done to them. Also, you can make use of AI tutors and assistants too to supplement teaching. My sister teaches online. I think she's on, there's this app, Perplexity or something, you know, she teaches online too. So, you know, it has expanded. I remember it's classroom beyond borders now. One is not just limited by the four corners, like we used to say, of the building, but rather you are let it beyond the classroom now. Knowledge is at one's fingertip. All one needs to do is just to focus in him, himself or herself, and sit down, research on these topics, and you will get your results. So you have this assistant now. I'm not too conversant, so I'm struggling with this concept in maths. I'm not really understanding. And with the with the world as a global village, I had that issue too as a student here too. Some of my lecturers, I wasn't really in tune with their pronunciation or accents. I found it hard, especially people from a particular area. So what I will always do at the end of the class is I had apps that we used to summarize the notes. And I would also enlist some people's help too online to help me explain this better too. I'm part of an online teaching group too. So I would always meet colleagues online to help me expatiate on whatever topic that had been taught that I found it difficult to grasp. So I would then, in all of this, I would say that we also need to emphasize collaboration. Also, we need to work with policymakers. With our school, we can start from the grassroots there with our school, as teachers, as school owners too. What are those things? What are those policies you people can put in to ensure the safe use of AI? Also between the teachers and also the students too. And not just because teachers too are also becoming lazy. They don't teach, they don't read up. What they do now is just to present and project their write-up and say they are done. No further explanation too. So as a school and also as a teacher, you need to work hand in hand. You need to create rules that will guide the use of AI amongst the teachers and the students too. So, I would say that as teachers, we need to let's try to shape AI to be used responsible so that it works for us and not against us. Because as a teacher, if everything you do is AI dependent, a child will not need to sit in your classroom again. A child will tell you he or she doesn't need to be in your class. What are you teaching us when I can learn it somewhere else? So we need to make sure that we are using AI responsible. It's working for us and not against us. And I guess basically, how can we do this? We should be informed about AI tools and ethics. Let's keep ourselves abreast of the trends. Also, let's advocate for responsible school policies. Use AI to selectively enhance your learning. Encourage digital literacy. That was one thing Vivian said when she answered the question I posed early on. We need to be literate in this aspect. Don't think because you're teachers you can get away with that. And I'm smiling because my mom also taught for 35 years in Lagos State before she retired. And I remember when they introduced ICT in Lagos State School, you know, my mom, for promotion exams, they said they will write it online. I remember seeing my father and my mom. I remember my father teaching my mom how to use the system. So I just remember that picture came to my mind, I and my mom was the only one who could use the system amongst her colleagues. But she's retired. That was a long time ago then. So we need to keep abreast. We need to be literate in how to use these apps. I know that we will be asking the students like what our grandparents do, that they tell us, come and teach me how to send this message. We will not be doing that to our students. We should not be caught doing that. We have to this thing, be involved in this. We have to learn what's the current trend. What do I need to? Take my how can I take my teaching from step A to step B? What do I need to move from this step to that step? What apps can help me in my journey? You need to train yourself in that. And also, you'll need to also encourage critical thinking in the children and not just being over reliant on AI. As teachers too, when children turn up reports that AI written, you know that this one, there was no input from the child. You should be able to return that work back and tell the child to go and do his or her work better. So let's try to encourage digital thinking and critical thinking in the children. So in all, to conclude, I will say AI brings its opportunities and risks. There are always pros and cons to everything, right? We should be careful on how we depend on AI because of its ethical. We should have that consideration. There are ethical considerations to be made when using AI. That needs to be said. And teachers play a central role in shaping AI's impacts on students. So let's also, take notice or cognitive of that too. At this point, I would want to ask if there, anybody who wants to contribute to all that has been said. We could start by discussing how AI can shape, or how we can shape AI for a brighter learning future. So if you'd want to contribute to these or you'd want to ask questions, the floor is opened. I guess we have like 2-3 minutes, right? I think no, this is 10:35. So we still have more time. We have 5 minutes. It's 40 minutes. So we have 5 minutes for that. So is there anyone that wants to contribute? Let me stop
Yeah,
sharing
well,
because okay.
okay.
Okay. Yes, please. I wanted to read
Well,
chat. I wanted to see if there were chats, but please say something.
oh, okay. Well, I would like to say something, add to what you've said. I don't know. I love AI. I will not lie about that. I love it so, so much because it has done something in education. I keep telling everyone that what pushed me into education was Montessori method of teaching. Okay, so
Mm,
Montessori method of teaching, it's a different method of teaching and learning. Okay,
mhm,
so I believe, yes, I believe the woman, Dr. Montessori, she didn't know, of course, during their time, they didn't have AI. Okay. So when I look at AI, I still go back to Montessori. I'm like, AI now, it's going to portray the Montessori aspect of learning in a broader way, not just, stereotyping it to be that Montessori method of learning. Why did I say this? Because if we are using AI, just like you said, it means that we are actually not going to be the teachers, but rather the guardians. Because
Mm-hmm.
there was something you said. You said, the children what are you going to teach them? Because it's in AI. They can Google it, they can use AI to form anything. AI can teach them. Who are you? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when I was researching, thinking about AI and what AI is now and what it could be in future, I saw
Mm-hmm.
Montessori. I figured myself, okay, let me be Montessori in this our present time. You get?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like AI is still trying to talk about Montessori method of teaching, but not just only limiting it to that woman's idea and her own, creativity to help children in learning. It now is now a wider kind of a thing. I still go back to what you said. I hope all of us have an idea what Montessori method of teaching is. So I still go
Okay.
back to a child asking you, or maybe telling her friends, what's this teacher talking about? Don't worry, when I get home, my daddy bought my robots. He's gonna teach me a lot of things. You get that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, AI is heading to that way. When we're gonna have AIs in our robots in our houses. You get?
Mm-hmm.
So imagine me as a student. Later talk when I get home. I'll talk to my robots. Okay, that's it. So it's obvious we are not gonna be doing the talking so much. Like teachers are known for talkative. Somebody said you are a teacher, you can do MC. I just looked at them, say, hey, now it's talk you people do. Can you imagine? I said, teacher, you don't know what we do. So AI is not telling teachers that you are not just gonna be talking, you are guiding, you are
Mm-hmm.
directing, you are exposing them, you are empowering them. In fact, it's shifting us to, in fact, it's just telling teachers that the least you can do is even talk. Let them do that talking. Let them do that research. You are just there to guide. You are just there to lead. So I think I just wanted to re-emphasize on this, because when you said it, I was like, wow, okay. So many of us are actually thinking on this line because if you come out there one day, a time we reach, you enter the classroom and you open your mouth and be blabbing for 45 minutes or let's say 30 minutes in order to give them what's it called, activities to do. They will just say you are wasting time, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's the aspect I wanted to re-emphasize on, that this teaching is going to another level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
In
Thank
fact,
you.
this your last statement, teaching going to another level. I also want to caution us as teachers too that in as much as we are working alongside with AI and we encourage our children to work alongside with AI, we need to make sure that it's not just about using AI. AI must be trustworthy. And that is why at the end of the day, you know, it is your decision as a teacher that takes, precedence over AI. Don't be too
Yeah.
lazy and say, oh, since the child has submitted this work and he used AI is correct. Go do your due diligence by reading through, going through what this child has submitted. Let's try to make sure that AI, where is AI is not intelligence, it's artificial intelligence. Where is it getting its intelligence from? Human intelligence. And human, as we know, make mistakes. We are bound by mistakes. So the same mistakes we would have made in a write-up. I mean, even in newspapers, you see it, articles. A write-up will be given, posted online. What do? Sometimes they do retract. They retract it. They make correction. Oh, that we had said so in this write-up that this is not true. But we need to make sure, probably before the retraction came in or the correction came in, AI has taken that in intelligence and then put it in a report that a child then brings to you. As teachers, we are working alongside with AI. We still have the final say. So I want to encourage us, let's not be lazy. let's do our due diligence to make sure that AI is not just technology, but it's also about trust. How can we make it trustworthy? Human nature. AI needs us. The same way we need AI, it needs us too. So let's make sure that teachers remain the final authority in guiding student learning. That is the only way AI does not consume us. So I will end on that final note because it's very important that, we take this into cognizance. But thank you so much, Vivian, for your contribution. I really appreciate your time and listening to me. I hope I've been able to, basically spark one or two things within you and encourage you not to shy away from the use of AI, but to work alongside with it. AI should help us, and we should also help AI too. And move with the trend. The world itself, as a global village, is tolling that line of AI, human development, and all of that. So we should be able to keep abreast with all the current situation so that we are not seen as outdated or archaic, but rather we are also pivotal in the future, in the next generation to come. Teachers will always be seen as an important necessity to the generation. So thank you so much for your time. I remain Sophia Utulu. Thank you for taking out time to listen to me. Thank you, Voice of the Teachers Conference. I really appreciate it. This is 3 years in a row for me, and I will see you next year. All right.
Wow, thank you so much. Actually, you were supposed to also introduce the next speaker
Oh,
who goes
yes,
by the
true. Yes,
name.
I need to introduce the next speaker. So thank you so much for reminding me. So our next speaker is Oyebola Awodeji. Now, this is an educator, a mentor, an education consultant who has served as a school administrator and also the head of school. She has special interest in special education and has taught students with SEND, and I guess she would portray that, but that's special educational needs. So she has taught that in different schools. So I welcome you, my school administrator.
Thank you so much, Sophie. That was a very fantastic presentation you had there. Well done, you. Very
So let me stop
enlightening.
sharing.
Right, thank you. So, hello everyone from whatever 7 continents of the world that you're listening from or watching from. I would just give me a sec, please, and I'll start sharing. Start from the first page. Can we see my screen, please? Can we see my screen? Vivian,
Yes, we can.
am I sharing? Okay, thank you.
I can.
Right.
Oh,
Thank
yes, yes, yes.
Right. So, without much ado, hello everyone once again. And the topic of the hour is AI for special education. Welcome to the Voice of Teachers Conference 2025. Just like Sophie said, I will also say this is my 3rd year running, I guess. Yeah, I think so, Vivian, right? And before I
Fourth year, fourth year, fourth.
yeah, yay, we should be ringing bells. So, right. So, and I also want to use this medium to really appreciate Vivian Ifeagu. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce your surname, if I massacred it. And she's the convener of this wonderful program and platform. where teachers, like-minded teachers, passionate teachers come together to, brainstorm. This is actually brainstorming we're doing. And I really appreciate that you're putting it out there. You might not see the reason now or the benefits right now. We might not be reaping it, but over the years, at some point, we will see what advantages and benefits it has accrued over the years. Teachers, upcoming teachers, experienced teachers can jump on this platform, listen, and improve themselves. Look at what's, where we're coming from, what we have achieved, and improve, professional improvement. So thank you, Vivian. Well done. Please don't stop. And yeah, like I said in the text to you, we're all right behind you. It's a very laudable project. So it's a good one. So like I said, AI for special education, how we want to look at how personalized support for every learner, especially within the SEND, and how AI has been infused or integrated, if you want, into personalized support. Teaching special education, inclusive education, the framework, the bedrock of teaching within the inclusive education or for special education needs is personalized support. There is no way you can adopt inclusive education or teach special education without specialized support. So this is what we'll be talking about today. And Sophie has introduced me, so I wouldn't be wasting so much time on this. I have 2 decades experience within the education sector. I am all that is up there right now, and I'm a lifelong learner. And my okay, sorry about that. It's echoing. So by lifelong learning okay, I think device is echo. Should I continue?
Sophia, can you make me a co-host?
So like I was
Bola, can you make me a co-host?
Okay, I might have to stop sharing because I'm sharing right now.
You don't have to, just go to participants. You don't have to stop sharing. Just go to participants and make me a co-host. Okay, now you are the co-host. You can go on. Bola, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. But can we do something about the echo, please? Okay, let me try. There are two devices on. Oh. So without much wasting time. Sorry, let me. Okay, let's try again. Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, that echo was really affecting me. Thank you, Vivian. That's it. Yeah. So we can move on now. So we will be talking about personalized learning, its objectives within SEND, current AI trends, personalized learning platform, which I call personalized learning platforms, and how they support children with SEND. And then I would really like to delve, I don't like it to be so theoretical. I would like to delve into adaptation in school practice. What are those personalized learning platforms that have been infused with AI that we could use in school practice? And then strategies for implementation for people that are school owners that are here listening or that want to just see the options they've got in adopting inclusive education. And then we'll run through if there are any questions and answers, and then we go on our closing remarks. So like I said in my introduction some few minutes ago, I said inclusive practice. Last year, we talked about inclusive education and adopting inclusive education, like it has been said, or it has been infused or infused into education policies all over the world, or like many countries of the world. The policy is there, right? But it is the implementation it's the challenge, because people or school owners, even government, are at a fix on how to go about it, because they see it as something that is not necessary. They see it as an extra add-on. They see it as expensive, which, in which case, these are things or ideas, fixed ideas that we need to break down. So without breaking these fixed ideas down, we might not be able to practice inclusive education as much as we should, which will benefit the children, benefit the students, and over the years, increase economic development of that country. However, we've seen that some countries have taken the bold step to do this, to adapt or adopt inclusive education into the mainstream learning, mainstream schools, breaking down walls and barriers to learning. And that is what inclusive or education or SEND helps us to do. That is what personalized learning. So when we've adopted inclusive, or we want to, or we plan to adopt inclusive education, the framework, the bedrock to be able to do that will be personalized learning. It will be through the path of personalized learning support for the children, for the SEND children within that classroom. So without personalized learning support, the children will not integrate. So you will be claiming that you're running an inclusive school, while in actual fact, you are not. The children or students will just be included in the classroom, but they will be lost because you're doing a one-size-fits-all curriculum. You're giving a class of 20 the same activity. How? So the children with SEND in that classroom will not have a fair balance, or how will I put it now? If a level playing ground regarding learning. Just like we all know, or yeah, it is a common knowledge now that we have three basic learning styles, or basic learners, three basic learners: the auditory learners, the visual learners, and the anesthetic learners. That is even within children, the mainframe children that are not even SEND students. These are not students with SEND, and we're still categorizing their learning styles and telling teachers or encouraging teachers to teach, to adopt their teaching method, pedagogies towards these learning styles. Not all children are auditory learners, so you cannot use the lecture method in the classroom for a class of 20. You have to infuse other styles, other methodologies, like visual learning, where the IP board comes into place. You have to infuse, adopt your teaching method to the kinesthetic learners who are tactile. They want to use their hands. And that's where you bring in your hands-on activities. And you marry the three together, you are able to meet, the specific learning needs of those categories of learners. So how much more for SEND? How much more for students with SEND? A child that has ADHD, or ADD, a child that is autistic, an autistic student with autistic spectrum disorder, and then you're using a one-size-fits-all in your classroom. How is that fair? So inclusive, I'm passionate about inclusive education because it provides a fair level playing ground for all students. For instance, another example is, how would you justify a child with ADHD or autistic spectrum disorder during assessment, giving them the same time duration, the same time frame? How is that a justification within the education sector? When a child has been identified as ADHD, is given the same 30 minutes or 1 hour summative assessment test under 1 hour. So schools are moving away from this because it is based on social justice. Like I explained last year, this is social justice within the education sector. And the earlier schools realize, proprietaries, school owners, government realize that this is based on social justice. It is just the right thing to do to ensure that no child is left behind, to ensure that every child has access to quality education. And that is what has led us today to be talking about AI, personalized learning infused with AI for SEND pupils. Okay, so that's my background. We cannot say we are practicing inclusive education without differentiated learning, differentiated curriculum, and personalized learning pathways for children with SEND in our classrooms. So, what is personalized learning in SEND? Personalized learning in special education needs and disabilities and inclusive education is an approach that tailors instruction to meet the unique needs, strengths, and interests of each student, each and every student that have it might be, we have different categories of SEND, and that is why as a teacher, you have to profile your students. It's a beginning of the term, you have to profile them. I'm not saying you should name any child because currently in Nigeria, we know that we do not have those diagnostic centers that we have in the West that could, assess students and determine what, special needs they have. But as a teacher, the best you can do, or the minimal thing you could do, is to profile them. This child is never sitting down. This child has short attention span. 5 minutes and he's very brilliant. But 5 minutes is done, his focus is on something else. He's always going around like 10 steps a day in your classroom. You will know that this is a red flag. You do not have to name the child. You do not, because you do not have to, you are not a specialized, you're not specialized in that area to assess and determine what kind of special needs, but that is not worthy for an educator that knows his or onions. That is not worthy. And then you start putting up plans. How are you going to help this child with learning? We can start from those simple steps. It's not until we are waiting for the proprietors of the school to come and buy, 10 million computers, to buy, 1,000 IP boards. We as educators, we have the power in our hands to help the students, even within our means, within our, what we know, how we can help them, adapting the curriculum to help them. How will a teacher, an educator, give 10 sums in the class to everybody, including the child with ADHD, when you know that child till nightfall might not finish that 10 sums, but you know that child knows that concept. He's a genius, he's a talented child, but he has very short attention span. 3 sums, 4 sums is enough for you to determine that child in an assessment. So why would you give everybody 20 sums to do? And so now you're going to grade that child lower because he couldn't finish 20 sums for you within 30 minutes. So as teachers, these are things we should be thinking about. I like to bring it down to practicality. I like us to, bring it down to the practicals of it, not just theoretical and then we just go off. As teachers, let us think about it. And minimal changes, adaptation here and there can help give a fair, help the child assess learning, help the child assess the curriculum better. So personalized learning recognizes that a one-size-fits-all approach does not work, even for children that are not students with SEND. Even for mainstream students, because for every 2 children, they are different, they have different learning styles. So we should discourage one-size-fits-all approach teaching methodologies and pedagogies in our classrooms, because they do not work. And that students learn best when they are engaged in activities that are designed to meet their individual learning needs. So now you know that this child is, that seat, that chair he has in the class, he doesn't maximize it. He likes to move about. So how are you going to bring in flexibility into your methodology? Doing outdoor learning, taking short breaks, arranging the seat arrangement. These are all key components of personalized learning to empower each child to meet their learning needs, to ensure that you bring that education to them, to their doorsteps. So now I would like to I've given examples actually of, how personalized learning is beneficial for SEND children. I've mentioned a few, flexibility, seat arrangement, and all that, flexible seating. We do not have to set our classrooms in a row order. That is archaic now. Now in classes, you see different types of sitting arrangement to accommodate. When we talk about accommodation in inclusive education, this is what we mean. A child on wheelchair, or children that are I don't want to call it, there's this name, but we're trying to deviate from those kind of names. little people. I bet you know what I mean when I say little people. I've been in a class with a little individual, okay? And of course, the tables are not at his height. He has a special kind of seat to help him raise him up to the table level. So all these are kind of accommodations that are being put in place, okay, to accommodate children with different needs. Accommodation in inclusive education. So I just want to talk about the traditional personalized learning accommodation styles, and then we move on to AI-infused personalized learning platform, so that teachers can know that it is not all about having the computer in your class that will solve all the problems. Yes, it might solve some problems. It is good. But I just want us to know the traditional other ways and accommodation that we can use to meet the needs, the learning needs of children with special education. So examples of this personalized learning that we perform in schools include customized plan, which we call individualized education plan, IEP. So in countries like in the West, you enter a classroom, for instance, you have special education needs children in the classroom. You should request for an IEP plan. Every child or student with special education have what we call an individualized education plan, which is a customized or a living document crafted from a meeting between educators, school leadership, as well as the parents and even the student himself or herself. They come to a meeting and then the interest. So this document contains the interest of the child, the weaknesses, the weaknesses, the strength, and the outcome. For instance, it is usually 1 or 2 years, and individualized for that session. So an individualized learning education plan is being crafted. So it's a document that contains the weaknesses of the child, the strength, his interest, which you are going to use. The interest, oh, this child loves football. So everything football is going to be crafted. So that's why we call it differentiated curriculum, differentiated learning. So everything about football will be crafted into that boy's learning, because that is the only way you can get his attention. When you infuse football, the accounting footballs or the football stars are included in his worksheets. That is what we call differentiated curriculum. So it is broken down and infused with his interest. And then an outcome is being generated, which is like a roadmap for the educator in the classroom or the teacher in the classroom to use. This is the plan for this child who is a student with ADHD. This is a plan for this child who is a non-verbal autistic student. This is an IEP plan for a child with maybe severe learning disability. So these IEP plans are customized, and that is the bedrock, a plan that the teacher will use over the course of the session. Another example, okay, for example, a student with ADHD has an IEP that includes extended time for tests. I just mentioned it. A quiet workspace for children with autistic, because it depends. Children with autism are different. They have different what's the word for that now? Different presentation, different exhibition of character. Some of them are geniuses. Some of them cannot stand bright light. Some of them have challenges with background noises, classroom noises. That's where they use hair defenders that blocks away the noise. So a quiet workspace, a sensory corner where a child with autism can go and deregulate and be regulated. So these are ways in which we can adapt, we can accommodate children with SEND within our classroom. Another one is flexible seating, which I've mentioned, providing students with variety of seating options to accommodate different learning preferences and physical needs. A student with sensory sensibilities can choose to sit on a stability ball in the classroom. Yes. Use a standing desk, for instance, or walk in a quiet corner with noise-canceling headphones. That is also what we call ear defenders. We also have differentiated instruction, which I've mentioned. Different activities in the classroom. I think the last speaker mentioned that some group of children are working on their notebooks. They're doing mental mathematics. Some children are at the other corner they're still using manipulatives to work the same sums. And differentiated learning for everyone in a maths lesson. The same addition problems, the different methods. Use of manipulatives, use of their notebooks, use of other form of devices, tools. So now that we have talked through all the forms of personalized learning that we actually would do in a traditional, inclusive classroom. Now let us talk about how AI can enhance this personalized learning. And it is so interesting what AI is doing. Like Vivian mentioned, she's all for AI. She's seen the benefit, and really it's amazing benefit for children with SEND. So personalized learning platforms, which are all AI integrated, we call them personalized learning platforms because they are tools, they are digital tools, are utilized in various settings, classroom instruction. They are accessible. Even children that cannot move, that have movement challenges, can use them right there in the hospital. A child that has fractured bones and cannot move, or some kind of bone disease and cannot be moved up and down, anyhow, can continue learning. So these are the benefits, and we're going to be seeing all this. These platforms offer AI features such as adaptive assessment, adaptive technology is mind-boggling in SEND. And it is amazing what it is doing for children with SEND. Interactive content is providing interactive content. Children with SEND can collaborate with other children on their devices, just like in games, where you could be gaming with someone you don't know. Feedback mechanisms, collaboration, tailored learning, all these are the advantages. Yeah, there are disadvantages. GDPR, for instance, data laws. These are the disadvantages or the areas of concern for many schools, many parents, and individuals alike. Yes, they are there, but there are also ways to mitigate against all this kind of risk. There are mitigation plan that can be put in place by schools. Governments now, governments all over the world are really, delving more into GDPR. They're taking it very seriously. These are things that can be mitigated. We can't say because of the disadvantages, then we throw the baby and the dirty bath water away. There are amazing things this is helping to do. And it's gaining traction in education, especially in Western countries, although, they are not fully implemented in all schools. Some schools higher than the other. It depends on school policies. It depends on, school visions and all that. It depends also on the area. Like the previous speaker mentioned that even in the West, you want to live in places where you know that schools are well funded, okay, where they have more things, you know, they have better quality of education than schools that are underfunded, okay? So all those things are still barriers, okay? And it's still about helping schools, helping governments, you know, realize that there should be a minimal, you know, level where every child, anywhere in the country they are in, have quality of education, have access to quality education. So technology can significantly enhance personalized learning by catering to individual needs and preferences, just as I've mentioned. So in what ways? The first one is digital tools and resources. There are different amazing digital tools now that, you know, can help children with SEND. And it's really doing amazing work. For instance, there are digital tools that have been infused in schools in the West here, where they all have, just like this picture is showing, they all have their Chromebooks, they have their laptops or their notebooks and all things like that, all those devices, different platforms that they go on. A school I work with, and which is really a general thing, have the first thing if his child is coming in, to help them assess that child, the child will be given a device where all their English and spelling comprehension is already, you know, created on that device. So they want to assess the reading of the child. For instance, the child will be given a device, and then they go on it, they start reading and answering questions. So based on the assessment as is going, the assessment, answering question, comprehension questions and all that, based on the evaluation, okay, it's like an algorithm. When the device notices that the child could not answer, maybe the baseline is like 5/10, let's assume, it's just an example, and this child is getting 2. The algorithm will automatically reset and give the child simpler comprehension to read and answer. That's the best way I can describe it. Do you understand? So it's like you on social media now. We all know that social media, TikTok, etc., it depends on what you like, your interest. It will now generate, and the algorithm you've built that is what will be churning out to you. That's the same thing AI is doing. And that's infusion of AI, because it is intelligent. It has known that, oh, this child cannot read these words, for instance, or cannot interpret this comprehension, cannot answer these comprehension questions, you know, didn't get the baseline. So based on the pattern of the child's reading and understanding, it will generate another form of simpler. And if the child gets 10/10 over the baseline, for instance, the algorithm or the AI will be able to project a higher comprehension text that is more challenging for the child. So like in schools in Nigeria, I've worked where, you know, normally as a head teacher, I'll tell my teachers, do not sit on the curriculum. That's always my catchphrase. Don't sit on the curriculum with the child. A child in your class is maybe, you know, a talented child, for instance. You're doing addition and subtraction. Maybe you are doing addition. And this child, maybe within, let's assume, below 10, addition under 10, 0 to 10, you know what I mean? Teachers that have taught lower primary and preschoolers. And this child is doing all the addition fantastically well for you. The best thing for you as a teacher is to move the child upwards again, and then introduce addition from 10 with 2 digits, for instance, addition with 3 digits, and then you move on like that to help the child, because this child is doing way far beyond what your curriculum has designed for him. So in that way, you are meeting the needs of this learner. You're not saying, oh, he knows everything. So every time you are giving him addition from 0 to 10, addition from 0 to 9, 0 to 9, 0 to 9, and you're wasting the child's time for an entire term. When this child from second week is already adding all the addition for you below 10, below 2 digits. Why, as a teacher, will you allow that child to remain on that level for an entire term? Move him up. And also, that same way, a child that is not doing so well, you can customize the plan for him. So these are the ways where we do personalized teachings. And when we now start talking about this technology personalized learning platform, with digital tools, they are amazing. That's the same way they do. So rather than you designing, the AI is designing it for you, understanding the pattern, the learning pattern of the child, and bringing out to meet the learning needs of the child. If the child is not doing so well, it brings another customized, lower activity to help the child, and then helps the child gradually upwards. So it's all very, very nice AI-infused personalized learning platforms that we could use in schools. We also have data-driven insight. It gathers data. These AI tools and personalized learning platforms gather the data, just like I said. It gathers data and it helps the child. Through the data it has gathered from the child's activity, it now customizes different activities to keep the child engaged so that the child is not lost. And it is student-centered. It allows students to interact with peers and mentors. I've mentioned that. It is flexible. It's called adaptive learning. Differentiated instructions. These are all the keywords. And we also have gamification. We have tailored instruction. I've talked about individualized education plan. This is, it helps you generate that individualized education plan digitally. And then it is inclusive. Moving on, adaptation in school practice. So I would like to really break it down, because we have different categories of children, of students with SEN. So my plan within the next 15-20 minutes, because we should have like 5 minutes for questions, 20-25 minutes is to talk about adaptation in school practice. So this is what this picture depicts, is the new education, is the 21st century education, is the education of the future, starting from today. And some schools have already keyed into this. Some countries have already keyed into this. This is VR helping. The other time I was watching a documentary on how VR can really break more barriers. For instance, you want to go to the national stadium. VR can do that for your student. They put it all on their heads and they watch everything. They want to going to where now? Let's say, for example, going to Badagry, where slave trade happened, or National Assembly. Students can use the VR and watch what is happening in the National Assembly. That is right there in their classrooms without stepping a foot outside the door of their classroom. And they participate in the national debates, in national in the parliament, in the Senate. These are things that AI can do. And it is better for us as school owners, as proprietaresses, as educators of the future to begin to have a growth mindset about the benefit of what this will do to students, especially our students within SEND. Moving on now. So all this personalized learning platform and trends indicate an adaptive nature of AI to adapt learning content, pace, feedback for each learner. And like I mentioned, I would like to bring up our magnifying glass and see how, so that we just talk theoretically, how is it really helping a child with dyslexia, for instance? How can personalized learning platform help a child with ADHD? How can it help a child with autism spectrum condition? How can it help a child with visual impairment? So this is what we'll be talking about in the next few minutes. I hope time permits me. Like I said, it's a very deep topic. It is broad, and we'll just try as much as we can to do justice to this topic today. So the first thing I'll talk about is the adaptive for a child with dyslexia. We all know that children with dyslexia have challenges with reading, with comprehension, with spelling, with words. Okay? That is just like that movie we watched. I know as a teacher back in Nigeria, we all watched that movie. I've forgotten the name now, the title of that movie, but it was a very very wonderful movie, an opening movie where the letters were jumping up at that boy. I can't remember the title now. As he was reading, all the letters were just coming off, the book, and he was just seeing the letters like upside down. And it's a red flag. I've seen students where they want to spell and will spell it as, instead of A-N-D, we spell it A-D-N. That is a red flag for you as an educator to begin to, to pay more attention and be observant on your student. It's like I said, and that's the way I also let my teacher know. I said, do not name any child. Is the observation, okay, that will help you. The observation is it's good enough to help you tailor your instruction for that child. You do not have to say, oh, this child is this, is that. If it's not diagnosed, is not assessed, please leave it as it is. Just describe the challenges to me, and we're going to create a plan. Because we know we still have that challenge in Nigeria, but in the West, as soon as they notice, I spoke with a parent yesterday, not yesterday, 2 days ago, and she was, she heard that, oh, I have experience within SEND, and she called me up. Child, he doesn't sit in class. Teachers are talking to her and they're having a plan. She was so confused as to she's also a Nigerian, and she just moved to this country, and she was just, asking for advice, that this is all strange to her. I said, don't worry. It's good that they've noticed, and the first step for them is actually to call you as a parent. So go to the meeting. That is a good thing. They've already identified that your child has these needs. So this is a fantastic one for you, because it is the education is structured. There are plan and path for everybody. No child is left behind in this country. So that's lucky for you. Now you're going to have a plan, an IEP plan for your child. Now that they've seen, that is it. That's the first step. They call the parents. So as a proprietor, if you're in this school, if you're on this platform, or an educator, and you're noticing this, the first thing you should do as an educator or a teacher in the class, let your management, your school management know, this is what I've observed about this child. And then the school management, as a proprietor or proprietress, the next step for you is to call for a meeting with the parents to discuss what the school, you as a proprietress also can also investigate yourself. Go to the classroom, have a one-to-one with the child, see what, the reports you've been given, and then you take it from there. That's the same step in most countries. So when teachers identify children with these needs, special needs, they get in touch with the management, the school management. The management calls for a meeting. And then there will be arrangement for an assessment, a formal assessment beyond what the teacher has assessed. That's when they will now call the educational psychologist. They will now call the speech therapist. They will now call all whatnot. And we need more. So this is a call to action for educators who are willing to please go for the training, get certified, and these are the things I think we have a very shortage of manpower in that regards, especially in Nigeria or developing countries of the world. People should go into studying educational psychology and all this professional, where you can carry out assessments for children, and you'll be able to formally now diagnose the child as autism, as a child with autism spectrum disorder, or as a child with ADHD, because sometimes the symptoms are alike, but it's only professionals that can state what type of need it is. So, and as soon as they do that, they will create, when the educational psychologist has come in and the speech therapist has come in and they've assessed the child at a certain age. When they are below 5, they might not assess yet because they will ask them to wait till they're about 7. Then they can now assess the child for autism, for instance, or for ADHD. That's when they will now be able to really determine what type of need the child is on, or what type of category of SEN the child is on. And when that has taken place, the next thing is to create an individualized education plan, or health. There is another one that we call EHCP plan, for instance, which involves health. If the child has a medical condition, it will be combined. Okay, so, but ordinarily without a health condition, it might just be IEP plan. That's it, individualized education plan, where the teacher, there will be a pathway. They will identify the strength, the weakness, and then the outcome, what the teacher will work on for that year, for that academic year. Okay, so now we have, for the children with dyslexia, we have text-to-speech tools, okay? And this adaptive text display empowers students to develop independence in reading and comprehension. It is a digital tool that is integrated with Microsoft packages. You can integrate it with Word, with Notes, anything on, any Microsoft package. Okay, example of a learning tool in this regard is the Immersive Reader. And I've just screenshot how it looks. It has picture dictionary. Okay, so it's just like a pen, like the reading pen for children with dyslexia. There's this thing, this device is also a digital tool. Okay, it's called a reading pen. It is a pen-shaped electronic device that scans printed text, all right, on the page and read it aloud to the child with the earphone. So the child will have an earphone on his ear, and then with the pen on each word, it will read out and pronounce the word out to the child. Okay, so this same is also something related. Every, as you can see on the screen, the highlighted word is teach. So as the child puts the cursor is cursor on teach, it will give you a picture dictionary. What, you know, the meaning of the word is in picture. It will give it to you. It will give you, you could, depending on the setting, depending on the need of the child, you could read out a line each, or 2 lines each, or 3, or depending on the level of the, you know, that the child is on. To use this tool, a student can select the immersive reader icon, just like I said, and click play. After adjusting the voice, you can adjust the voice speed, you can make it slow, you can make it fast, depending on the preference. The grammar aspect also allows students to segment syllables, okay? It will now break words into syllables for the child, so that the child can now, you know, say after the pronunciation and break it up. You know how children, phonics, if you're a phonics teacher, you know how to break words into syllables for the child. Teach, do you understand? Things like that. And that is what AI is doing with personalized learning for children with SEND. The reading preferences feature can be adapted to capture 1 or 2 lines, just like I said, of text, depending on the needs of the child, depending on the level of reading of the child. And what this does is that it assists the tracking of the passage according to the child's needs. Okay, it is embedded with picture dictionary, like I've mentioned. So as a teacher, when you're creating your lesson, you can copy and paste into a slide, and the text can be read aloud. It is also printable. You can print. There are symbols that are also used for children with dyslexia, that they are symbol to text, for instance. So you have the text and then you have the symbol. You have and, a symbol, go, a symbol. So for children like that, you print out this kind of you use this kind of text to speech tools, and then you print them out. It's also something that could be used on paper. Although, of course, the picture dictionary, instead of the picture putting the cursor and showing the picture dictionary, it will now be the images, the small images and pictures that will be showing. So this is a very, very beneficial tool for children with dyslexia. Even as a parent on this program, these are things you could, you know, adopt in the house on your children. Every child now, even in Nigeria, many children now, let me not say every child, many children now have their devices. I've seen children with devices from 6 months. They still have iPad. These are things that we could, you know, download or pay subscription for, and help our children. When you notice that this child has a reading, you know, difficulty or challenge, there are also tools, personalized learning platforms that have error spotting, assortment sentences. AI analyzes mistakes, their phonics or word recognition, and gives them targeted lessons, just as I've mentioned. Okay, and a lot of them, there are many of them out there that you can get on your child's devices. Lexia, Core 5 reading, Nessie reading, spelling. They're all student, how will I say, they're children based, user-friendly, that the child will fall, you know, in love with. They will always want to have it. And well, they think they are playing, right? They think they're playing, oh, it's games, it's talking back to them, and they're reading out the words. But in actual fact, they're learning and becoming better. You're adapting the learning style of that child to his needs and helping. So these are personalized autism therapy solutions. Now we're moving on to how AI in personalized learning is helping students with autism. So there are a lot of them also for autism spectrum disorder. We have the ones that cater for social and emotional sensory stories that help them develop, because some children with autism have, challenges with social, with relationships, with emotional and social aspects, activities. So things like this can help. It is emotion recognition. You can imagine AI recognizing the emotion of your child. It is mind-boggling and helping to improve their social, their social activity, their social understanding, building coping strategies. Okay? Education and learning, behavioral and development, AI data tracking, which is the ESDM. It is play-based. They will think they're playing, but it's in actual fact it's helping, it's nurturing that behavioral aspect. Because when they are deregulated, you know what it means. A child that is deregulated could be screaming, could be banging his head on the wall, could be, slamming things down, pushing his friends, just when they're deregulated. But this AI will help understand their mood, understand their emotions, help build communication, improve engagement, and support their learning. Right? So it caters for every aspect of autism spectrum disorder. I think I have one or two. So we have Khan Academy. I could mention, I'm not advertising for any digital platform, but it's just necessary to mention it so that parents on this platform as well, watching, can also take note of all these things and use at home. Okay, it's not until we wait for our education system before, because I've seen parents that do not know, do not have the information at their fingertips. So this is a very good platform to help put the message out there. So we have Khan Academy, customizes task, example-based, and is learner-preferred teams. We have speech development. If you have a child that is, a child is 4 years and still not, developed speech yet, is a red flag. It might not be anything because the child is still below 5. It might not be anything. It might just be a delayed speech, because I've seen children that did not develop speech on time. They had delayed speech development. Every child meets their milestone at different stages. Just like in the class of 10 preschoolers, for instance, that who are all 3-year-olds, or let's say, 3-year-olds, and we've seen a 2-year-old amongst them, or 2.5 going to 3, already speaking all the words that you as a teacher does not know. And you'll be like, what? And the child says, oh, I'm frustrated. And you'll be like, this is a 3-year-old child. Where did you get that word from? Frustrated. And your mind is, just going everywhere that, wow. And then you see a 3-year-old child that has got 3 in that same class, or 4-year-old that is still, trying to even say water. So every child meets that milestone at different stages. It might not be anything. For that 4-year-old child that is still struggling to say water, by the time he's 7, you will not believe that it's that same child that will, at 4, could not, speak a word. So
hello, Bola. Sorry
yes.
to cut in. Just to remind you, time.
Yeah, I have
Okay.
10 more minutes. Right. I'll run through quickly. Thank you. So
All right.
I just like putting in examples. So AI speech, all those text-to-speech, learning speech can be used for children, okay? And it will call out, pronounce the words the child pronounces back. It has speech blobs, articulation practice, and all that. Even as parents, we can do this. These are amazing things AI is doing to help children or students with SEND, whether at home or in schools. Another good one is a sensory-friendly interface. We all know that children with autism, are sensory in nature. So when we have images and text together, it helps them. Okay, it helps them with the navigation, with the understanding of the words, with the story or comprehension. The student can complete all these tasks, adjust the difficulty level based on their responses, just like I explained earlier. And then we have social skills stimulator. I've explained it previously, but these are just examples of these platforms that we could adopt in school or at home. Okay. And yeah, then we have personalized feature for students with ADHD. We have Cogni, it's an AI tutor, and it has engagement analytics, real-time feedback, monitors the focus of the child, and then adapts the length, and then prompts break. So you can imagine AI prompting your child that has a child that has a short attention span because he's ADHD, and he's able to bring up breaks at appropriate time to help refocus the child back to the task. So the child is continuously engaged within that time. Assistive technology for physical disabilities. So children with physical disability too are not left behind. So a student with fine motor difficulty uses specialized keyboard. Tools for visual impairment, enlarged text, raised line paper. High-tech school tools, Google Chromebooks with audio visual, a student with visual impairment using a screen reader. Okay, just as we've seen. So these are the things, amazing things that, personalized learning support with AI is helping to do. What are the strategies for implementation in schools? First, I will say the first thing is not to buy this and buy that. I know it's expensive. The plan can be over the years, for instance. Do you understand? But the first thing I will say is training teachers. Are teachers able to recognize children with SEND even within the classroom? So when a teacher cannot profile a student, does not even know, what challenges a child have, that school has already failed in meeting the needs of a child. So the first thing is training teachers, helping it get out there, the awareness that there are children that have special needs, have additional needs. You have to go out of your box, out of your cocoon to help expand your teaching methodology. Improve on yourself, professional improvement, make research, read more. And then a school can begin to look at pathways to develop hybrid learning platform. Don't let it be all books. In countries in the West, there are no more textbooks, no more notebooks. They don't take books home. They don't take books in school. Do you understand? When they create their worksheet, that's the notebook, they put it in the classroom. And it's a worksheet anyways. So they stick it in their notebooks. Across the subject, across all the subject in the curriculum, very few have the notebooks, maths, English, the core ones. But all other ones, the majority of the activities are digital. So, adequate accommodation and infrastructure. This can be done gradually for a school that has a vision, okay, that wants to plan. Variety of knowledge display, flexible content formats, just like I've mentioned. Have flexible content formats in another format, presentation format, drawing. A child that likes drawing, for instance, can write a creative writing in a storyboard format. So these are different ways of assessment. These are different ways of meeting their needs, because this child cannot write 2 pages for you, but he likes drawing. She can make her own story or essay into a storyboard. Overcoming challenges, the human element. While technology is valuable, it should enhance and not replace, just like the previous speakers have said. So teachers' understanding is key. Mentorship, peer support are crucial aspects that technology cannot replace. And finally, personalized learning in SEND and inclusive education is not just an educational strategy. Like I said, it's the bedrock of actually practicing inclusive education, of actually teaching children with SEND. It's a commitment to diversity and the belief that every student has the potential to succeed. Thank you for listening, everyone. And this brings me to the end of this discussion. If we have any questions, now is the time. Thank you.
Can you introduce the next speaker, please?
Okay. So we have Melvina Kenechi Igbanugo is a passionate educator, is a family advocate, and a teacher leader. She is the Director of Studies at Roseville Secondary School, Enugu State, Nigeria, with over 7 years of classroom experience and 3 years in academic leadership. A public speaker and compare of parents first. Melvina supports families in guiding their teenagers while also mentoring teachers and facilitating educational trainings that build leadership, communication, and student-centered practices. She is a certified trainer with the Institute of Work and Family Integration and has completed advanced professional programs, including the CSML Leading Learning Certificate at Harvard Business School, the Executive Teachers Program in Integral Student Education of Lagos Business School, and Managing Yourself with Leading Others in Social Enterprises at Lagos Business School. So she's a lot. And just to, I would like to give her the floor now, and she will talk more about herself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bola. That was a fantastic presentation. I was so in love with everything you actually shared with us. In fact, I have an aspect of my presentation that had to do with what you've done, but you've already done a very good job. And I think some of us here should put in a comment just to encourage her presentation, because I mean, I was blown away. So thank you very much. I'll quickly start to share my slide. I'm very happy to be here today. Most importantly, that I'm here as a third-time speaker for the Voice of Teachers Conference. I'd also like to use this opportunity to appreciate our convener, Ms. Vivian Ifago, for her tenacity in seeing that education would come to limelight, that all stakeholders will come to engage, have meaningful conversations on the happenings in education. And to all of us who are speaking on this important topic, AI-powered learning, I really like to say congratulations and well done for being advocates and sharing your mind with the world, as much as we hope that those who would find what we have shared very insightful will kickstart all we have put in, and of course, see that education gets better. Today, I'll be taking us on a journey, and it's very interesting. We'll be looking at from traditional to tech-driven, the AI learning shift. And in the course of this experience, we'll have an introduction. we'll hear our voices, because I am a teacher that believes in the student's voice. And so wherever I find myself, I have to use my voice. And so I encourage others to use their voices, because you never can tell what can come out of your thoughts, which are your words, can bless someone, can change the environment. So we don't know it all. And so we encourage active participation in this conversation we would have. And where we would dwell so much on in this 40 minutes conversation would also be the different dimensions, analyzing the different stakeholders, looking at core questions, the impact of AI, and of course, what each of these stakeholders can do to rise to action on what is already prevalent in our time. And with that, we look at call to action, which each one of us is also expected to reflect and give a feedback. And then we take our questions. I'd like to start this way. Let's look at these three case studies. We're looking at Aisha, who was a student in 2000. We're looking at Kunle, who also studied or left school as at 2020. And then we're looking at Cheta, who is riding through school as at 2025. If we look at 2000, for some of us, I mean, some of us may still be in school as at then. Okay, some of us may have graduated. And if you're looking at this generation, they were also taught by either the Gen X, the Gen Alpha, and the rest of them. So how were they taught? What was happening in education as at then? How do we think Aisha was able to get through, to acquire knowledge, to learn linear equation such that she can make impact? Okay, how did her teacher incorporate such lessons such that as at now in the workforce where she's finding herself, can she apply that knowledge of that subject where she's finding herself today? Because someone like this person may have probably finished school, okay, and is working today. And then we go over to Kunle, who must have, passed through school between 2020. And if you can remember, I'll quickly like us to type in what happened in 2020. What was the hallmark of 2020? What was the world known with? What was that thing that happened that changed the dynamics in 2020? I'd like us to type in on the chat box. Remember, it's all of us working together in this discussion. Can anyone remember? Yes, I'm waiting for you. Good. Isioma says COVID-19. Thank you very much for that brilliant answer. In fact, I have online chocolate for you. So COVID-19 hit the world, and that changed everything for everyone, for all stakeholders, students, parents, school owners, government. And we can recall how people had to start using WhatsApp, Meet came about, Zoom came about, and the rest of them, Microsoft Teams, and all others that came into place simply to see how to navigate. Because how would the students be at home for more than 6 months? And of course, they also had to write exams. The world did not sit still. And education was the highlight or the peak of that shift, because we had to move. We had to see that the students were engaged. For government, I would say that they really tried to set up TV programs, radio programs where they taught. But were students really assessed? Those in the rural areas, were they able to have access to such information that were provided? Okay, those who were a bit privileged had, the Zoom, the Meet classes. You also see teachers trying to navigate for what many of them who were taught, groomed, all their life, all they knew were traditional practices. And now they had to teach students who are 21st century with the tech skills. So how are they coping? Or how did Kunle navigate at that time? And then we bring it down to Cheta, okay, who is in the heat of it now. We're looking at, as at 2000 and 2022, yes, AI actually came up and everything has changed from then with its pros and cons, because for everything that is good, we also have the bad. And that is why we're having this conversation today. So if you're looking at Aisha, she probably dwelt at a time that is, she had an experience of the traditional classroom, but it just served as a knowledge source. Okay, the paper, the test assessments were paper-based, and of course, it was simply same pace for all. I believe I'm speaking our minds. Do we all agree to that? You can type in the chat box so that I'm aware that we're on the same page. If you also have something you may have noticed from 2000 that is not captured, you can as well share it with us. As at 2020, the dynamic started changing. Of course, it was in the transitional phase, okay? We can also call it the digital phase, where you have the teacher with digital aids, such as the Meet, the Zoom, the Google Classroom. There were online quizzes because after your classes, your school proprietor was waiting for you. You need to access them. Okay, maybe that way was even a way of getting the students to be active in class, to come to class. Okay, and then there was some form of flexibility as well. It wasn't as rigid as it would have been. Okay, and we now go over to now, which is 2025, where Cheta is a student as at this time. And what do we have? We have the teacher and AI as co-facilitators. Okay, I remember the first speaker asking a question, and Ms. Vivian answered that question. Do we think AI is actually here to replace or take out teachers? Do we think so? And she gave a beautiful answer. So someone said in the chat box that in 2000 or 2022, okay, no, 2000, her friend got married. Well, that's beautiful. It's a very good memory to catch up with. And of course, Onye says COVID-19 brought in virtual learning. It was COVID-19. Thank you very much, Ifoma, for that good answer, and Onye as well. Okay, so, the AI and the teacher, they need to work at par. And that is what we're experiencing now. We also have that, as at this time for Cheta, she's so lucky that assessments are no longer paper-based, not online quizzes alone. However, they are now adaptive assessments. You have assessments being tailored to actually meet the needs of Cheta in her time. Of course, there is also a fully personalized pace. So I would really tell you that Cheta is lucky, right? Cheta seems lucky. But majority of our schools, if we think back on what we're experiencing now, I would tell you that 7 or 6, correct me if I'm wrong, out of the schools we have, looking at even our country, Nigeria, these schools are simply still at transitional phase, because we also have the funds to buy the necessary materials needed to actually transition into the AI-driven learning. We have it. And then we have the rural schools. Do we think government is rising up to the occasion to actually provide for all those schools in the rural areas? Okay, so these are important conversations that we need to have. So the next will be, why are we even talking about this topic? Technology is changing faster than our schools, and I know that we all agree to that. And so if we have to adapt, if we have to make that move, then all stakeholders will have to come on deck to see that we reimagine education. Countries like China, US, Finland, they're already adopting these things, and we can see that their system is working. Okay, but for us in Nigeria, we are still emerging, even from teaching, learning, and then to assessment. And somehow you may even see that maybe because of our mindset too, some of these things are being used more in the negative aspect instead of using it for the good of it. So our voices, where are we? Simply like us, I would have expected we'll have a breakout session, but for want of time, we'll take some minutes or a minute to think and of course share. I'm taking out the pair now because we won't be able to pair. So we'll just have think and share, where each person will try to share her mind. Okay, I would like us to pick. We have the different stakeholders. We have parents, we have educators, we have government, we have school owners, and we have students. These are the various categories. Can we think and x-ray our school? I believe some of us are school owners, some of us are educators. Even if you're not, you probably went through a school, or you are in a state, you're in a country. Where are we currently? Can we say that, looking at it from the point of view of parents, that this is where we are? For educators, this is where I am. For government, this is where government is in your own location. Okay, for school owners, this is what it is as at where you are. Okay, and of course, I'd also like you to share a hindrance and a benefit to transition into the future. So I already have, if your name falls between A to D, I'll call you for parents. I have Deborah here. Deborah, would you mind to share with us, just in 30 seconds or 1 minute, what you think about this? Do you think, where do you think, from the point of view of parents, where schools are as at this moment, where do you think education is? Okay, let's hear your voice. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Although I'm in Abia State, I'm a head of academics in a school. So I think in Nigeria, particularly in my locality, the parents we have are still functioning in the era of 2000, because, for instance, when you send a message to them, they don't get to see the messages. You give them newsletter, they don't get, some of them don't get to read those messages. And even when you give them homework, you give the kids homework, the homeworks are not properly supervised. Some parents are not eligible enough to do those assignments. So that's, sorry, I'm going to speak on both sides of parents and teachers. So that is for parents. Then on the side of teachers, some of our teachers, they are not, will I say, let me say, IT compliance. Some of them do not have this Android phone. Like, I'm trying to ensure that they stop teaching all this ABC, they use sound. But after teaching them, after giving them training, there is no reinforcement on their part. They'll tell you that they don't have, except to buy this phones for them. Okay, there is provision of phones for them in the school. Then at home, there is no continuity. And when they come to classroom, they tend to teach the way they were taught in 1930s. So that is all I have to say. So in our society in Nigeria here, we are not yet there, particularly in my locality.
We're losing you, and I think you're talking. Can you check? Can any other person hear?
I can hear her loud and clear.
Okay, maybe it was from my end. Sorry about that. Is she still talking?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm having network glitches in my area. So what I'm saying is that in my area in Abia State, a good number of parents are not yet there. They are not yet there because, as in, they don't tend to realize the importance of technology in education. So when you try to, as in, introduce new things, there, as in, it doesn't all go well with them. So thereby, is affecting the academic performance of pupils and learners in my school. So that is all I have to say. Then there is, on the part of teachers, we try to do training for them, but after the training, no reinforcement. If you ask, there is no continuity. They don't have techno, they don't have Android phones. Some will tell you that, oh, they have Android phones, but no light. So there is problem in, okay, this is just, sorry, I'm having a speech problem. maybe because of drug I'm taking. But that's all I have to say.
Not at all. Thank you very much. I mean, listening to you already, I can feel the pulse and energy you have in class. That was a fantastic answer you gave us. And we can actually see the reality, because sometimes we are saying this AI-powered learning, but truly some persons are still way back in 2000. And we really need to stand up to see how to support one another, because this is not just about who has it all. Remember, I think one of the speakers talked about digital divide. Also in what I have equity and inclusion. How do we bring it all together? Yes, you can already hear from the part of the parents. We need to have a growth mindset. There needs to be a shift in their understanding that this hasn't really come to harm, but of course, there are the good about this AI, and of course, which can be harnessed, and then see how to better support the kids such that they also do not suffer from the adverse effect of over-dependence on it. And of course, continuity on the part of educators, okay? Some of us are already educators here. Why are we so scared? Why are we not even open to use these tools that have come to actually make our work better? And how do you better equip your learners when they even know much more about these things? So it should be that you're up to the task, you even know ahead of them, and then you can better lead them. Thank you very much for that great response. I would invite Mrs. Ifoma Okonkwo. You take us, give us what you think about government. Looking at your state, where do you think government is as at now? Others we can be typing in. We can be typing in, okay?
Okay. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, the hosts. Good afternoon, Miss Mel. I don't know if you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you for this thank you again for the platform. So I quickly see that for government, they are looking at our states currently. Government is making a very huge shift towards traditional teaching. They are moving to and Enugu State. We have the current governor setting up for the Green Smart Schools. And school, he's currently building up the schools, recruiting teachers, and teachers that that has the friend their trainings. Sharing to Enugu State for its teachers, parents, and students. Experience something different from what we already have since independence. I think if the eventually is going a massive one. Yes, say for the government is really trying. If the governors of other states didn't adopt this similar, however, must be. So yeah, that's it for me. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. I really appreciate your very powerful and thoughtful answers. Although I was somehow affected by network, I seem to have lost most of the important points. But I know I heard something about Enugu State Smart School, which is something that you guys are navigating now. It seems I also heard something on training, and that's interesting to hear. We also have on the chat box from Jideka Ethel. Well, for me, I think we aren't there yet, but we are improving greatly. In my locality, Enugu precisely, private schools are really trying in terms of using technology. Even the government are building smart schools. Yes, I agree with you guys. And even getting the educators run some trainings, take exams about the usage of technology. My school, for instance, we are making use of technological tools in sending out notes using Canvas, LMS, and then giving tests and all. Fantastic. That's a very beautiful one that your school is doing and your state is doing. And I know that there is so much more we can also do, but we can look at other states. Where are they? What are they also doing? How much does government budget in the yearly budget for education? Okay, and those in those positions to make decisions, to make policies, who are they? Were they even in the classroom? How equipped are they to make those decisions for those who are in the classrooms? Do they even come down to also see what happens in these classrooms? The money they have given out to people to build, do they follow up that those things are being put in place? How do they supervise and monitor them? So these are questions that as government, we also have to answer, because if we're talking about this shift, we're all trying to prepare the present learners to be global citizens. And if we have to prepare them for the future, then it starts now. So thank you for that great answer. I would invite Namsi Peter to help us address school owners. Where do you think school owners are looking at your location, and what can you tell us with respect to that? Thank you.
Hello, good evening.
Good
Hope you can hear me
evening.
loud and clear.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I'm in Kaduna, Nigeria. With respect to school owners, essentially these days school has become a business. It's being run very commercially, and it's profit oriented in most cases. So most times they advertise all these things, smart schools, they advertise it on their notice board, but in actual practice, some school owners are reluctant, maybe because of the costs and the economic implications of it. So I know for the past few months, I've been consulting and doing trainings. In fact, I'm doing a training next week with the NAPS, this National Association of Private Schools, and the Kaduna chapter. When you sit down, like those as we're doing now, we're having a conversation. AI is beautiful, it's good, that. But in reality, the costs of the parents, sorry, the parents, the school owners are scared of passing this cost on to the parents, and they play to the tune of the parents. So if you bring it and some parents are not comfortable with it because they want to keep their customers in quotes, they jettison it. I know we have LMSs that were introduced, and then the parents say they don't understand it, that they prefer their good old report card and the rest. But I think there should be a balance between technology and other ways. Technology, sometimes we overthink technology to be going ahead. We also have to look at, like someone mentioned, the digital divide, and see how we can carry everybody along, and let's not make it look like a burden on some group of people. We have parents who are very IT savvy. We also have parents who are still very traditional. So we have to look for a way of bringing them together gradually so that they fit into the system. So I think school owners should also know that they have a responsibility of not just educating children and training teachers, but also um, educating parents. And sometimes that fear of, okay, if we do this, the parents will withdraw their children. I think we need to try and let go of that fear so that people are trying, okay, this thing is important and it's part of the whole school system and it's for your child's good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I mean, your voice is powerful, and that was mind-blowing. So we can already see, like we said, we have a consultant here consulting for several schools. But of course, for school owners, it's important to look back again. Why are we scared to keep to our promises? Because these promises we're now turning into politicians because we probably make promises and we don't want to keep to them. Now, I would also believe we're speaking more about our country, Nigeria, but this is far beyond our country because there are also other parts of the world where these things are happening. So I really think there is also need for buy-in, okay, buy-in of all stakeholders, collaboration, for parents to understand that, okay, this is what we can do. And then are there parents who even have access to getting this equipment? You know, can they also do that as a contribution, a community project towards the school? And somehow when they even do this for their businesses, their taxes are reduced when you partner. But these are information that parents or business owners don't even know, that you can partner with your school and your tax is actually reduced. So it's also good that if you're a parent listening here and you have the capacity to support your school, or you feel there are certain kinds of school you also like to support, it's also time to look within and make impact, okay? Because we need all hands on deck to actually bridge the gap that we're experiencing. And last but not the least, I'd like to have Bola, I'd like you to speak on for the students. Where do you think the students are now? Do you think they are able to navigate to the AI phase, or do you think they are still where they are? What do you have to say about this? Others can as well type in.
Well, thank you. Well, I think students are malleable. They're just like Montessori said, a child's brain is like a sponge. So students, anywhere you put them, they learn very fast, they learn easily. So they are able to, even beyond school, we see amazing things these students are doing at 16, at 14 with AI. So for me, I would say the schools are still restricting them, right? Because like Namse has said, says school owners are afraid, these things are in private hands, they don't want to lose customers. And that's why it still goes back to the government. If the government, who's the driver of education, who's a custodian of educational policy, can have a wake-up call and put things in place, I think the students will do fantastically well. They're already doing what they're doing, outside of school, getting into AI, using AI in their various, getting there, you've seen them even making money on AI. So we are the ones restricting. The government, schools do not want to use it to channel it towards their education, their learning. That's my take. Yeah.
Wow, thank you very much, Bola. Such a delight to hear from you. While she was actually talking, it reminded me of something. We concluded a training from Harvard in our school, and there's this phrase our teachers would always say, that the adult in the system is responsible, okay? And truly, all stakeholders here, we are the adults. And so we are really responsible in filling this gap that needs to be filled. And most importantly, also guide these learners because they are minors. We have to guide them as school owners, either provide policies, regulations that can also get them to know why this is this. Students should also be equipped such that they are responsible enough, freedom and responsibility. These are things or skills we have to incorporate in our lessons. So thank you all for those fantastic and noble ideas and feedback. Towards the end of our conversation, we'll now look at the call to action. Okay, so Namsi also typed in something. I'll quickly like to read that. He also said, also, when I was in England, the schools were very inclusive. Even though there were computers in classes, students had the option of using paper, markers, and other non-digital resources. We should not be in a hurry to get rid of the old. Of course, like I said in my introduction, what we're trying to do is to reimagine education. We have not come to abolish, right? But rather to make it even much better. So we're looking at the different dimensions, okay? And we can see the student at the center of it all. Like I said, the adult is responsible. So parents, school owners, educators, government, every action we're doing, whatever we're doing, this learning shift, this gap that we need to fill is towards the good of the students. So we'll be asking ourselves various core questions and also looking at impact of AI learning shift. And if time is on our side, I would also like us to do some practical sessions, because as much as we say these things, somehow we have these conversations and leave, and people still don't know what we are talking about. I also have a chat from Mr. Sebastian. He's the principal of Hugh Range, and of course, he runs the Parents First. It's also a program we all need to tap into, where parents are being equipped. So great job here. On AI in schools, two crucial challenges that students face are distractions and the tendency to abandon deep work and even thinking for themselves. Parents and teachers are wary of this. Yes, I quite agree with you. So what we are also looking at in this conversation is to have a balance. How do we support them? How do we raise them? Remember, we said culture is what you do when no one is looking. And if that is so, we should be able to also support them to realize how their choices can make or mar them. Now, the different dimensions, looking at it on this scale I have here, there are 8 of them. But I really like you to pay attention on one that is still trying to find its way on the scale, which is cultural and mindset shift. That is one that is really keeping us where we are for all stakeholders. All right. So the first is the pedagogical shift. Okay, when we're talking about pedagogy, we are looking at teaching methods and practices. So the core question would be, how will teaching methods evolve? We're looking at the shift from traditional to tech-driven. What is going on now? Okay, and the impact of AI learning shift. We're moving from rote memorization to personalized adaptive learning. And so for the various stakeholders, there are very important questions or things we have to look at. For educators, how are we designing our lessons as at now such that we use the AI tools while maintaining our pedagogy? We have already been given these things, and we are also expected to now spend more time providing those one-on-one interaction, knowing that, as we're saying, that AI is like a co-facilitator with the teacher. You think, you prepare your lesson plan, you can, of course, ask AI to actually make it better, okay? Or you can even ask it to generate, put in the right information, and then retweak it, because there is really that influence and impact it makes when there is really that human reasoning to it. You're able to give back and make it your own, because you actually know your learners even more than any other person. For school owners, how are they selecting and evaluating AI platforms for curriculum alignment? Okay, these are important discussions we need to have as school owners when we're looking at pedagogical shift. For the government, we also creating curriculum guidelines that incorporate AI literacy and critical thinking. Now, I think while we're preparing for this conference, we saw something that came online that TRCN, they are trying to come up with AI designed lesson plan. I was happy. I mean, that's a good move for Nigeria, okay? But what will be the restrictions? Will it be rigid? Because I also believe that curriculum, yes, has to be the same, but the pedagogy can actually be different. Okay, we can follow our own means, but we get the right result. Okay, so it shouldn't be that you have said this has to be taught this way. Can teachers also be able to remodify it using the tools that they also have, okay, to make it better? And for parents to understand AI's role in changing how children learn and provide home support as well. Remember, it is parents first. So if parents are first, they really have to be involved in the conversation to even know what is happening. Because I also feel that when people don't know why, they are not open to receiving that. But if they know why and how, they can better support their learners, because we are preparing these kids for the future. And then for the students, they should be able to take ownership. Okay, take ownership and then see how to use the AI tools, not as a shortcut, but of course to deepen understanding. Now we go over to the technological infrastructure. The core question here is, what tools and systems are needed? Okay, because if we're talking about this shift, remember the case studies that we looked at. What's changed between 2000 to 2025? Of course, if we look at the impact, there are devices, connectivity, and AI-ready LMS, that's learning management system. So each of these stakeholders also have to embrace or pick an objective for this technological infrastructure. Looking at the educators, they should be able to operate and troubleshoot basic AI-driven classroom tools. Okay, and for school owners, they should be able to plan budget and timelines for tech adoption. You can even write for grants, have grant writers in our school that would help us get access, because there are so many people in the world that have the money to sponsor these things. I was having conversation with someone, and the person about last 3 weeks, he was saying that there are about, out of the 10 countries he had a meeting with, about 8 of them have interest in Nigeria, looking for and especially high interest in education, people they can support or partner with, to provide for them. And somehow, I also feel that we don't want to push ourselves. We don't even want to ask. But how do you receive when you haven't asked? And then who are you asking? Okay, so we need to plan so that we can cover up for these things. If you've also made a promise, maybe in your vision, mission, you have said, we are raising global citizens. How are you raising them? Simply by teaching them, maybe you're teaching verb and you're simply teaching verb is an action word, a doing word. It has gone beyond that. Okay, it has gone beyond that. It should be, how can this verb I'm learning, how can it help me tomorrow as a doctor? How can it help me tomorrow as a script writer and the rest of them? But not just to learn it for knowledge sake and pass the exams. I'll simply go through the charts maybe when I'm done, so that I also don't take our time. And then looking at government, invest in equitable infrastructure and access across regions. So for instance, Enugu is building smart schools. I mean, I was impressed anyway, but I'm still looking forward to see the results and products from the school, okay? And how equipped they are for the future. These are conversations. I feel school owners, government should be able to partner together, partnership, to see how we can bridge the divide that we're having. For parents to provide devices, internet access at home where possible. But of course, with guidance, we also have data and ethics in the next point. So parents can see how to follow up with these regulations. And for students to learn to use AI tools responsibly and effectively. That cannot be overemphasized. We're also looking at data and ethics. I think the previous speaker actually built on that. So I won't say so much on it, but how do we ensure safe, fair use of this AI? Of course, the impact in the learning shift is risk of bias, privacy breaches, and misuse. Of course, we also have to raise learners who are not prone to intellectual theft, okay? And like Mr. Sebi has identified, they should be prepared to be critical thinkers. So if we're looking at the 5 C's in 21st century, which is communication, critical thinking, collaboration, and which other one? So it should be that whatever we are doing should incorporate these skills while we are preparing them. Educators, school owners, government should look at, I think we have the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. What regulations do they have? And then we also have the General Data Protection Regulation. What policies do they have? How can we adopt it? And everybody goes in line with that. Another important one is assessment transformation, because how can we say that learning has truly taking place if there is no change in behavior? And this change in behavior, aside seeing it materialize and solving problems, of course, the first is also to assess them, to also get feedback from what you have taught. So bridging that gap, we are asking the questions, how will student evaluation change? Okay, and then for the impact, we're looking at real-time adaptive feedback versus traditional grades. Also remember the last speaker buttressing on that, talking about the various adaptive learning platforms. And of course, I also tried capturing some of them for school owners aside educators, because school owners also really need to make this open. If, depending on where your school is, okay, you should be able to train and support the educators. So we have AI-powered assessment tools like Edulastic, Magic School AI, Gradescope. All of these are various assessment tools that they can also use to access learners. I think the previous learner also sent a whole lot of them that we can look at. And then we have the teacher role evolution. Things are changing now. It is no longer that traditional method. And that is why if a traditional teacher enters the class and you're teaching these 21st century kids, they get bored easily, okay? After 10 minutes, they have, their attention span is lost. So we need to prepare ourselves. What will teachers' role look like, or what is it already looking like now? We have not come to abolish, or AI hasn't come to abolish or chase away the teachers, because can AI actually look at a student and know this child is hyperactive and this is what this child needs at this time? Please sit down and do this, and this is the time you need to do it. Okay, AI cannot have that connection to even know that you're crying, except you give it that command that I am crying, comfort me, you know, which people actually do now. So teachers, I mean, AI can also not serve as your mentor, but teachers will. So it's important that we know the impact and, of course, try to bridge this gap, knowing that we should be ahead of the game. We're also looking at equity and inclusion. And the core question is, how do we avoid widening the digital divide? Okay, looking at, I mean, we can look at the rural and the urban. What's going on? We are talking about some schools already having smart boards, Wowby boards in all their classes, having fantastic experience. You are telling me CO1 with CO2, and you know the practical is, the simulation is going on. They are having those hands-on experience, but then there are still kids who they don't even have access to even buy the practical, but they'll just show them on the board what it may look like. And then we're saying that tomorrow, this child that has been raised in such environment will compete to in a workplace with the other person. How do we marry them? And so we can begin to see how we're rubbing off when we're not preparing these students enough or providing the necessary things, okay? And of course, we also have paying attention to the special need learners, which Bola actually did a good job on. And it's something that if you miss, I would really like you to go back and listen to our presentation. We have cultural and mindset shifts. Like I said, this is a place that we really need to rewire ourselves. Okay, yes, I love AI, but I also think somehow when you over depend on it, it makes you lazy. So how do we support and guide each one to actually realize the benefit and see how to use it better? How are we going to make ourselves more open to it? Is it mistrust or fear of AI in learning that is hindering us? These are conversations we need to have. And of course, look at the future workforce alignment. How do we prepare for AI-driven economies? Okay, there are new careers demand and digital skills. We already know now that if you're looking at financial literacy, in tech, you have the oil well. So if that's the in thing now, if you really need to build generational wealth, you're looking at tech. How are we preparing these students? How is every knowledge, every classroom experience shaping and preparing them for this world where they are going to compete with all others from different parts of the world? And I'll greatly say that for each of these, there's really a whole lot for teachers to do, because school owners can say whatever they want, you know. The government can also say or do whatever they want. But if I make a decision to make it better for the kids in my class, I think you get a different result. So let's really work on this cultural and mindset shift and be open to make it better. For instance, I'd like us to have a practical session now. I hope you'll be able to see my screen. ChatGPT is something that everybody has. I don't know, can you, okay, I'll stop share and I'll quickly do this test run, because as much as we are talking about this, it's important to actually test run and see how these things work, because some persons may be hearing about it. We feel that all of us know about it, but no, there are some persons that need to know. Maybe they are also not here today, but they may get, you know, get in touch with this conversation much later, and it will benefit them. So simply as a teacher, you're in a rural area, but of course, almost everybody has a phone now. Okay, you want to improve on your work. What do? You open your Chrome, all right? And then you can type ChatGPT and then you save it. I have it marked. Okay, and you can simply come here. This is new chat. You can see ask me anything. So you can ask anything that is related to your subject, and simply it provides the feedback for you. And in providing that feedback, you can modify and remodify that. If you come here, you can see the GPTs, okay? We also know that for this ChatGPT, there is the paid version. So depending on the grade you're actually operating on, you can have more things you get to use them with. I'll go to education. Under education, you see the current trends, majorly the things that are available to education that you can actually use to make whatever you're doing better. Let's say you want to learn English more, IELTS speaking classes for medical students, you click on it, you can actually have conversations and ask very important questions, and of course, get your feedback. You can see I can start my chat and type in whatever I want to type, and it gives me feedback. As a teacher as well, there's also the AI humanizer, where you can get a content here and you can put it, if you click here, you put it, you can see the AI humanizer, you put that content to find out, one can be to make it more human, okay? You can also have the plagiarism check and the AI checker, where you check the percentage of AI used in a work. So you can also better support your students. So it has its good and its bad, but I really encourage us, because it makes, it takes away some of the stress. We're talking about excellent teaching delivery. It starts with your lesson planning. As much as many teachers may say this lesson planning doesn't work, well, I will tell you that if you've planned your lesson well, okay, you would actually have a better learning experience. So the next thing I have, which is second to the last I have on my conversation today, is to look at the call to action, okay? What is it that each of us would need to do? I would also invite us once again to share, because we have heard from us, and then we have also gone through this content together. So what is our take home for today? As parents, is there anybody who would like to share with us? As parents, is there any new thing you think you have learned, or what you're also suggesting with the conversation we've had, that parents, this is what you need to do. Educators, I'm thinking this should be it. For school owners, this is it. For government, this should be it. And for students, this should be it. I'm waiting for us. Let me have Dina. Dina, are you here? Can you hear us? Please, could you share with us? Speak any stakeholder and share with us what you think is the take home.
Good evening. I'm happy to be here. I've learned a lot. I was actually enjoying your practical. I was expecting more from that. I was happy to see that ChatGPT, that place that you opened. I've never gone there actually. I think AI has come to stay. It's good that we all embrace it and
Okay, are you still talking?
No, it's raining here, so I'll let me stop here.
All right, thank you very much. So she's just saying for everybody needs to embrace it. I'm happy that you enjoyed the practical session, and in case you need more support to that, I'll be available to also put you through on one or two things, okay? Let me have Glory Ekanem. Please, do you mind sharing, as parents, what do you think should be the take home? Others can be typing in. We can pick any aspect and chatting on that. Gloria, are you there? Yes. Okay, so your hands, are you pleading that I leave you out, or you want us to hear your voice? Because we really love to hear from you. I believe you're an educator. If you're not an educator, you're a friend of an educator. So okay, you're giving a thumbs up. Thank you. Maybe you are in a situation where you can't talk. Mrs. Iyida Nkiru, do you mind sharing with us? What do you think should be the take home for any of these stakeholders having had today's conversation? Miss Iyida, are you there?
Hey. Yes, I'm here, everyone.
Oh, wow, I'm finding it hard to hear you. Seems it's network. Could you try typing in?
Hello.
Yes. I think it's a lot better now. Okay, so while we're waiting, others we can be typing in. If he says, government should be more transparent with policies concerning education and increase the budget allocation too. I quite agree with you, most definitely. So if you're a government parastatal here, you get to hear this conversation much later, or even any of us would get into that seat. We really have a need for us to increase allocation. But more than anything, I'd also say that there is need for supervision and follow-up, because it's one thing to set up something, but for a school system or for anything as well, if you have a strategy, you need to follow it and follow it to the end, and getting like minds, okay? Have buy-ins, run trainings to be able to support people who will take charge of these things. All right, so teachers should embrace it and stop running away from it. AI is friendly. I agree with you. So that's also a very good point. Yes, I really like to hear our voices. Namsi, I know you have a lot to say. Please, could you say something? Okay, Mr. Sebastian says, I'd love to kick off some regular training for my staff on how they can take advantage of AI in their teaching learning activity. Perhaps we'd invite you to chip in. All right, thank you very much. I'll be available to do that. That's also a very good one. I can also get any of our friends from here who are well equipped to support in that training. Thank you very much, sir. All right, Namsi.
Oh, okay. Since you brought me out again. So yeah, AI is good, and I thank you for that display. And I think even beyond the chat GPT, there's one called Corey AI. It's an AI that has been trained with Nigerian curriculum and the national learning passport. So like if you're teaching let's say mathematics, integration, you type it in there, it generates your lesson plan and your lesson notes, and then you can tweak it according to how you want it. Give examples. So maybe if you have to teach a class, I see maybe the people in the class are mainly Yoruba children or they're mainly Igbo children. You can use examples from within their cultural realities. Like when I'm teaching literacy with those kids in Kaduna, I just pick names of places in Kaduna and put it into the AI, and it generates a story with the names of location. And you see that when you mention, like someone in Enugu is Upper Eweka, someone on Onitsha, you mention Upper Eweka, the person can relate with that place. So
Yes.
that's what those are some of the other uses of AI. So apart from ChatGPT, we have Corey. There's also Perplexity, that is usually more academic. If you're doing something even more academically inclined, it's more accurate. No, ChatGPT is a crazy guy sometimes. He can give you some
Yes.
stuff that um, are not verifiable, are not verified. So, you know, you use the other AI tools that could be used. And then even when we're talking of government and supervision, AI can even become a tool for supervision of knowing what people are doing, because the excuse has always been we don't want to that there are no vehicles to travel around all the villages and all those things. But with AI now, you can monitor classrooms from the office without having to travel around um, all the local government. So I think that's that. And then for school owners too, the AI can be embedded in your LMSs so that it can cut across. And even in schools where we don't have maybe there's no power, there's not much light. Like I do when I go to a village to do outreach, what we did after generating using AI to generate the stuff, then we print it out. Since we don't have smart board, we don't have TV there, we print out those worksheets and allow the kids to still have access to those activities with their pencils and everything. But at least since they can't afford textbooks, they can't afford reading books, we use those AI to generate like small reading materials for them to use and practice. We just print it out, do coloring sheets, they color, and it keeps them busy than having nothing at all. So I think that's what I have to say.
Wow, wow. Thank you very much. I think you've actually given us a lot of tips and ideas, and I believe most of us are already taking note of these things. Let's also remember that Namsi runs a consulting firm and is open to do consultations. That was a fantastic feedback. Thank you so much. And I can also see the level of work that you're doing in your community. Well done. Ifeoma Okonkwo also typed in, she says, students are ready for it, but we need to guide them properly so they can get much from it and not stray. Yes, very importantly, we also have to look at data and ethics, knowing that there's a lot of data out there. And once you've sent things out, I mean, our students or their data is just like a patient's diagnosis. And what you do with it is very important. It's highly confidential. So we also need to have the ethical regulations, okay, seeing that it's used for the right purpose and not to endanger the pupils or the students that we are working with. So is there any other person who would like to share with us what she's taking home today?
Well, hi Mel, it's me.
Hi.
I just
Okay.
have maybe an additional input into stakeholders here.
Okay.
I don't have, like I said, the students are malleable, they're ready to learn, they are adaptable. But I think the most important stakeholders that will drive this is three stakeholders. Is the government, the school owners, and the educators. Parents also, yes, like Nancy mentioned, some are probably not tech savvy, but it's not that they don't want to learn. It's not that they don't want to accept or adapt or, accept whatever. It's about education. It's about awareness. When parents are educated or enlightened regarding the vision of a school, regarding the policies, regarding what a school would like to do, and they know that it's for the benefit of their words, they will accept. In fact, you will see them volunteering, or even donating. Just like you mentioned about grants and all that. If these parents understand the benefits, they are open to receive, they are open to help their children. So the government increasing budgets, yes, for education. It is appalling what the education sector is getting from the government. Yes, it should be increased. I support that. But most importantly is the monitoring. Nobody is monitoring anybody. Where's the money? The budget, the ones they are releasing, where is it going? If we are able to tackle, and that is why I will always say corruption affects every aspect of the society, even education. So in the rural areas, principals of schools that are, embezzling money, instead of directly using the budget or whatever income they are receiving from the government judiciously towards the education of the children, of the students. This has to be checked. Implementation, having a policy is one thing. Implementing is another thing. Regulating and monitoring is another thing. When these three are not married together, what we will have is corruption. And that is the issue in bridging the divide between private and public schools. That is why I'm always, targeting the government. The government, they are the most responsible in all of this because they are there for the good of the country, of the children, of the students. So why are they there if they are failing? If there's no monitoring, you put policies in place and that is the end. No, that is not the end. You give out budgetary allocation, and that is the end. No, that is not the end. There must be regulation. There must be monitoring. There must be supervisory advocacies and all this put in place, awareness, everything rolling out together to make education in Nigeria better, to make every child accessible, to make education accessible to even the children in the rural areas. The divide is wide. It is mind-boggling. And it is not fair. That's the simple word I can use. If we want to talk about social justice, we should bring it to the doorstep of the government. My suggestion for school owners is just like the educators, is to have a growth mindset. Fixed mindset will make your school archaic. You will just be stuck in the 20th century education where there's rote learning. They are teaching memorization and recitation, and the children are stuck there. Teachers are still teaching rote way method. You will be stuck in the 20th century. So it is better to embrace, have an open mind, do your research, bring in people that will train your teachers. Somebody mentioned, which is really true, that why many school owners are running away from training teachers is because they train teacher and they will leave. I used to know of schools in Lagos that will have, you will sign, not even only in schools, it is also, it happens, it's a practice within many industries where they take you, they send you abroad to learn. Sorry, pardon me for the background. So where people are trained abroad, you come back to the company and you sign a document that, okay, this guy, this company has given me a grant or study leave or something, I'm paid full or paid my training, I'm coming back to work for this company for 2 years to use that knowledge to the betterment of that country, of that company. It is also applicable within the education sector. You train your teachers, they sign that, yes, you've trained me, I'm going to work with this, and is able to, and she's able also, or he, able to train other teachers. And this is one of the things that we used in my former school. Wherever we send you on training, you come back to school, you make a report, and you train the others. We say sharing, knowledge is sharing. That is one of our catchphrases. You don't go out there because I had this experience before I was trained, before I really got to train myself in Montessori. I used to, as a young teacher, a graduate trainee, I got into a school that is a Montessori school, and I saw how they were gatekeeping information. I struggled as a graduate training, as a teacher training, just coming into recruitment as a teacher. And I didn't like that for anybody. It is not a good thing that information cannot be shared, that teachers cannot mentor each other. We should break these kind of barriers. And that was why I determined that teachers, in conjunction with the director, with the owner of the school, teachers send you on training, you come back with a report, it is shared to our collaborative tools, everybody gets it, and then you come and train us. And information is, everybody is on board. It is not that one teacher is shining alone in the class.
Of course. Yeah.
Everybody is brought on board. So these are ideas that we can explore, train, let them sign that within a year, the academic year, they are not going to resign. Then make them train the others. Let there be mentorship. Let mentorship, drill down from the top to the bottom so that everybody is shining in their classroom and the school will grow. The school will, will achieve great things. So yeah, I'm thanking so much. Thank you very much, Mel, for this opportunity. Fantastic presentation, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You could actually see the passion, when we're having these conversations. It comes from the place of passion, love for what we do. And that's why we sound the way we sound. So, but in all, we can see what she also brought out. Government, the school owners, the educators. But I think if I go by Mr. Sebi's parents first, and for our philosophy, it's parents first, because these kids come from homes, okay, where parents are involved, where they also look out for what schools align with our family values. That would also go to help. By the time you get such schools, you're also better able to collaborate, make impact, and there is need for stakeholder collaboration and partnership. And as much as Bola is also sounding like this, Namsi made a comment on the chat box. She said the government is a reflection of the mentality of the majority of the people. Working with private school owners showed me that the proprietors behave like government officials. Yes, as much as we see this, somehow in the nearest future, some of us can also be find ourselves in those positions of leadership. What do we do with such opportunity? How are we going to change the narrative for others? Okay, so it's simply a call to action. My boss will say talk is cheap. As much as we have said it, it's also left for us to go back home and implement these things. In the case study we looked at in our Harvard training, we saw that several schools are coming. You see school owners, school principals, they have WhatsApp platforms. Like she talked about hoarding information. What we have, especially in this part in the East, people are not open. They have scarcity mindset. They're not open to share with others information or knowledge without knowing that when we share, we are better able to make ourselves better. You know, people also have exchange programs, going to other schools to see what are they doing well. Okay, so these are things that we have to look at and see how to support one another towards this important cause. Remember, the conversation remains the traditional, moving from the traditional to the tech driven world. That is our conversation today. And we will not leave without having a final conclusion. As AI is a partner, not a replacement. And I believe that from all we have said today, we all agree to that. And of course, the future is simply, it's AI with the teachers, not AI versus the teachers. And I'll tell each one of us, and for any other person who would pick on this important conversation we've had today, please start small. Sometimes we feel so overwhelmed, and that's why I had to just take a few minutes to look at the practical session. You already have it. Once you have a phone, you have Chrome, you have these things. Simply type ChatGPT. You can also download the app on your phone, but then do not over depend on it. Okay, try to bring in, because you have an intelligence God has given you, and that makes you unique. You have an idea, you have the potential. So you also need to bring in the you in your class, in your lessons. And as school owners, you also need to provide opportunities to support, tell teachers that they can do it, can-do mentality. Okay, have a lot of teacher buy-ins, but we need to start having these conversations, because when teachers know that I can't teach linear equation the same way I've taught it for more than 5 years. Some persons say I've been teaching for 14 years, but you've used one note, one lesson plan, one question for more than 14 different sets of students. How is that possible? So we really need to go back again and see how to remodify and collaborate. Okay, so AI is there to collaborate with us, but it doesn't take away the us, because there is a reason why we have pastoral educational schools to be teachers, to be educators. And so we must reflect ourselves for each class, because our class are also reflections of us. Our students are a reflection of us. Of course, the best AI tool is the one you actually use consistently. Our conversation today remains to blend the heart of tradition with the power of technology. And of course, in doing that, we prepare students for a world we can barely imagine today. So I don't know, do we have any question? If we have any question, we can ask. The next speaker, Ms. Chidima, are you ready? It is time for questions. I would always say, this is something I learned. We don't just say, do we have any question? But of course, sometimes people are scared to ask what they think, but we encourage people. Okay, tell us what, or you can ask what you think another person may ask. Okay, so it mustn't be your own question. You can also ask a question that another person may be thinking. And let's have that. Okay, Dina raised up her hand. Yes, please, you have the floor. Quickly ask your question. If I also don't have the answer, any other person who has can take on that question. Yes, let's have you.
Okay, thank you very much for all the insights. From our discussion and from what I have from my experience, I think teachers are the ones that actually engage with this AI. And I'm looking, I want to find out if there are ways we can actually engage our students with the AI. Like where I teach, I teach in a school where we have the computer, but most times they are not really connected, talking about having network. So aside me going with my AI, my phone or my laptop, is there a way I can engage the students with the AI? I don't know if you understand my question.
Okay, so if I get you correctly, you're asking how the students can be engaged with these AI tools.
Yes, let's imagine that they don't have to go home. I don't have, maybe they are boarders, they're in the hostel, and I want to give them work because most times I'm restricted. I have to do everything for them and bring it to the class.
Okay, so you can already see the restriction you're having because they are also in the school, they are boarders. I mean, they are, they are limited, and that's why for our schools we champion for day school. Okay. However, I know that schools should be able to have like a computer lab, ICT lab, where students can also have access to this information. Now, where they also don't have access, students can do more of those kinds of work, maybe during the long holidays or midterm breaks. But then you as the teacher, what it means is that you would have to, not to depend on it, but you can use it to create classes, create lessons, assessments that are more personalized and better support them. They can also critically think, you can scaffold for them in classes to give them, lead them on and then see what they also have inside of them. And possibly during the holidays or if the school have their ICT computer lab, they can also have access to those tools, especially as they carry on with project-based learning and the rest of them and experiential learning.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. I can see our comments. I'm very happy that we had this heart-to-heart conversation. Like I said, it's all of us. Everybody counts. Our voices count. And it starts with this decision we're making today. Okay, so let's put all of these that we have said into action. I remain Melvina Ibuanugo. You can find me on LinkedIn as Melvina Ibuanugo, on Instagram, The Education Enthusiast, and on Facebook, Melvina Delphina. We can connect more, have meaningful conversations. So thank you, Shukrani Consults, our convener Vivian Ifago, for this amazing coming together of different educators from all parts of the world. I really appreciate you all. I can see my fellow presenters from different parts of the world, those in Canada, UK. I really thank you for being here. I can also see my boss from Hill Range, Mr. Sebi. I can see my colleagues, Ifoma, Miss Ida, Miss Ethel. I can see all of you and some of my Martina Teacher of the Year colleagues as well. I really appreciate each one of you for being here and being here till now. Thank you so much, and I hope we carry on this campaign and continue to advocate for reaching the learning shift, bridging the gap as teachers, educators, school owners, wherever we find ourselves. The next speaker will start at 7 p.m. because the person who is supposed to present is currently unavailable. So you can log out now. It's safe to say goodbye. Thank you and enjoy your evening. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right.
Hi, Mel. So,
Hi.
the last person that asked a question about how to use AI, right, in the classroom.
Yes.
Okay, because of time.
She's still here.
Oh, she's still here. Okay. So I just wanted to get a bigger picture, more details into what she means, because it is not advisable to use your phone or in the classroom. So, but because if your school does not have any digital tool, you might be restricted in helping your children, engage digitally using personalized platforms on devices. So because it is yours, you cannot use your phone in the classroom. It is unethical. However, it could help you create your lesson plans. If your school does not have anything in place, like an IP board, for instance, if you have an interactive board that is superb, you could, you could use, because a school that has IP board definitely might have a Wi-Fi in place. But if they don't have Wi-Fi in place, you can still use the IP board, develop your lesson plans in a PowerPoint slide, bring in, integrate or download videos or whatever you think the children need. Do you understand? You could also print. There are some things that could be printed off what you have created on your digital devices. Do you understand? So it can help you with your lesson planning. Digital tools, AI, it could help you create activity for the children, which you can now go to school and print off for the students. So these are the ways, that is, if your school does not have anything in place digitally, okay, for the students. But for you as a teacher, you cannot share your own devices with the students. It is not professionally
Basically correct.
yes. So, but you can prepare all the activities on your device and print them off, to help to assist them. I hope this answers your question.
I think she has actually logged out, but hopefully whenever she comes on, she would also watch through. But of course, that's a very good feedback that teachers should also know. I think every good school understands that phone is a no-no in class. It can be just like someone driving and pressing phone. How does it work? So classroom management also entails giving that time, except you are using a Wowby board, those smart boards. Yes, of course, you have access to internet and you can better connect and of course have the 3D experiences with your students, and you're expected to prepare those things. You don't come to class reading your lesson plan with the kids, or you prepare your material. So you have your worksheets, the rubrics are all gotten ready through those preparations. And of course, you can alter it to fit your own situation, and then you get into class. So fantastic feedback, and well done, Bola. Thank you everyone for staying till now. Glory, IJ, thank you. So we'll come back again at 7 p.m. to continue the next conversation. Bye for now.